Graves needs to shut his gosh darn mouth.
He needs to stop talking.
He's got to stop talking.
Why are we
done.
doing it?
I'm so done with him giving me the mission parameters before every single match of Warzone or Resurgence. Stop
It's
it. I'm
so
about to
funny.
flip that stupid picnic table into his face. Yeah, Graves needs a gag order. from,
Graves needs to
Raven.
just shut the up for sure.
Activision devs do not play their own game
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are categorically and unequivocally live. Boys and girls, welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty podcast, episode number 382. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I am joined by, and Nicole made a great point. I've been saying young Tanner. Well,
Did she say
might be
that?
time to change that.
Did that stupid...
She basically asked,
Say
when
that?
do you stop saying young Tanner? Because is he really young? That was the implication. And she's correct.
Well, young
You're not.
Jamie's like 40, isn't he?
Yeah, but Joe Rogan's also 100 years old, so
Yeah, that's true.
compared to him. You are younger than me, though, by the way. And let me be clear, you'll always be younger and less wise and
Better
regal
video games
than I
though,
am.
because of that.
And only that. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Some video games, by the way, let's be clear. Welcome to the program. Yeah, I'm joined by unaged Tanner.
Okay.
Unamount of aged Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
He's got shorts on with a long sleeve shirt. This I find less offensive than shorts and a sweatshirt, but still kind of weird.
Okay. You have a Santa hat on, so it's December 9th, by the way, and you've been wearing it for 5 days.
Yeah, it's December.
Okay. Why
It's
don't you put a
a
tree
month,
up
man.
instead? Let me put my Christmas stuff up tonight.
This is
I think I will.
by the way, for those of you who don't watch and only listen, this is coming from the guy who will put up a little Christmas tree in his studio a week before Christmas and leave it up until July.
No,
So,
I think it was like
Let's not
February
talk
that one time.
about inappropriate.
Well, trees are
time
cool.
for Christmas
Trees are fine. You can
decorations.
leave a tree up all year long. Who's the streamer that
No,
does it? Is
I
it
can't.
XQC or somebody always has, or maybe it's
XQC.
Trainwreck. Trainwreck always has a
and
Christmas tree up
XQC,
too,
I think.
and it looks great. That's the Santa hat that you can't leave that up for more than, I don't know, a week maybe like the 1 week of Christmas recordings. I don't know. Like when we record our camo grind tips episode that will go live on the 23rd of December, which is 2 days before Christmas, by the way. You can wear it for that. That's fine. You can't wear it now.
Well,
You just can't.
I can and will. It's going to be a December item.
Okay.
That's what I've decided on.
Okay.
Because I need to wear a hat anyway. That's the thing. And my mom was like, hey, you want this? And I was like, yeah, bitch, I do.
And there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried.
No, I think we're fine.
I think we should be good with that word.
You stupid. Yeah.
It's hard to pass on an opportunity to refer to my mother that way. It always makes me laugh.
You have to, yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
you've ever just said your mother without using that word towards her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always funny
Yeah.
to call your mom that. Like it always makes me laugh. It's just so insane and rude. So.
Remember that one time? I think it was in 2020. We were like live. You were like streaming gameplay or something. God, maybe it was when you just streamed BO4 and she came into your room and you muted and you were like talking for a long time and then you unmuted and you said, all right, you stupid, get out of the room. She just laughed and left the room. God, it was so funny. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, she's cool about it, obviously. We both laugh because it's so insane to say. Like she knows I'm not serious, obviously. And you should hear the things she says to me, by the way.
You
to be
deserve it
clear.
though.
And I, unlike her, I do in fact deserve it, but it's always funny. It's like, you can't call your son that, man. And we will be demonetized if I say those things. So anyways, welcome to the show. Today, we will not be talking about my my lovely mother. We will be talking about Warzone. So that is what is on the agenda for this very brisk, cold afternoon here in where I live, where my studio is. We're going to basically do Warzone first impressions. So there is obviously a lot to say about Warzone post-integration. Warzone now versus prior to season 1, I think it is the most different between one update Warzone has ever been. This, in other words, this is season 1's integration for Warzone, I think, was the single most transformative single patch Warzone's ever gotten since 2020. I don't think there's ever been like, I played yesterday and I played today and it was a different game.
The only time it's happened, of course, was Warzone 2, but that was labeled as a different game. That wasn't just an update. So this has to be.
Yeah.
This has to be. Like, even like for Dansk 84, it changed the map. We got the huge array. God, that was a massive array.
It was a big array.
And then a bunch of really broken, overpowered guns. So. And
they moved the sun like 3 million miles closer to Earth too for Verdansk 84, which is super weird.
The average temperature was like 350 degrees in a match.
Yeah, I didn't read that in any science books in school. I didn't know the 80s were just swelteringly hot because the sun was actually light years closer to Earth.
Couldn't look
but
east.
I guess it was, at least according to Infinity Ward. Which is not a game development studio. They're embezzlers and they're not good at their jobs. They're a bad company.
Yeah.
And I hate Infinity Ward, and you should too, to be clear. So today we're talking about Warzone. Now, before we do, as far as announcements go, I don't believe we really have any. If you're a patron, if you're platinum or above, then once again, I will quickly remind you, we did do our patron Q&A for our platinum and up patrons, which is now live. If you want to go listen to that. And if you're not platinum or above, you can always upgrade or join the Patreon at those tiers. And also, as far as the Patreon goes, for the gold episodes, the Call of Duty centric ones, expect those starting next week. We've wanted to play Warzone a lot before we start getting into any bonus content on that topic. And I think almost certainly the first bonus episode we're going to do, we will record next week, and it's going to be like a Warzone brainstorm. And already I have a lot of open questions, which is the goal of those brainstorms. Like I've said many times, pretty much every time we do a brainstorm, I actually come up with not that I come up with it necessarily, but I come away from it thinking of a new idea to try, which is super cool. It's a super cool experience, and I really enjoy it. And we share those with you guys, obviously. So expect those starting next week. And then, schedule is going to get a little more weird toward Christmas time, but we'll go into details on that as we get closer. Besides that, I don't think we have any announcements, do we, Tanner?
Yeah, I don't think so. Damascus Hangout is probably going to be next Friday. Just letting you guys know, but we'll let you know on Monday.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. And not sure what we will do. Maybe we'll do customs again. We'll see. We do have gunfight now, so we could do a little.
I don't know if everything is in customs, because when I was finishing Interstellar, like some of the maps weren't even in there yet either. Like, okay. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I know that the MW2 maps were not in customs for 6s, even though they were playable in pubs. So yeah, maybe that's not the case, but we'll figure that out. We'll let you guys know. Check the schedule on Monday and all that. So yeah. All right, let's get into it. So today we're talking about Warzone.
Are we doing it or not? I think we need it.
That's fine. Yeah, let's throw it in.
I think we need it for this, man.
Let's throw it in there.
Plus, I just love cutting you off with some sound. Oh, it's so good to not listen to you talk.
Yum.
Don't say yum, man.
It's a good word. Yeah. Like the stream now. actually. We have 4 likes. Is my
No, yours is broken at 17.
Okay.
Which is still far.
Still far too few.
Yeah.
25. Yeah, we need 25.
Okay. That's a
Cutthroat
giant
for
gulp
customs
of water.
actually
oh my
is-
God.
What'd you say?
That's a giant gulp of water. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. I'm a thirsty boy. Cutthroat for customs is a great idea, actually. I did play a little bit of Cutthroat with Elle and Jake last week. And maybe this week? I don't know. Time
is fake.
No, it could have been. No, it was probably last week. And it was interesting. That would be really fun for customs, actually. Especially if you could do custom team sizes. So you could do like 2 people instead of 3. That would be really cool. Anyways, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I wonder
Today,
if you can actually.
It's possible.
We'll ban Covert Sneakers or else I'm not playing it.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, welcome. Yeah, today Warzone first impressions. So the goal of this episode is going to be to give you guys kind of our first impressions, and nested within that, there will be some tips, tricks, and advice here. So, for example, the Resolute perk is not good or worth using. That's kind of like there's a little tip for you. And that's a result of my first impression of using the Resolute perk being not good. So you got a tip out of that. So don't feel like this episode will have no utility, number 1. But the goal is to give you guys our first impressions. And the way we've done this is splitting this episode up into a couple of broad categories. We're going to start with some PSAs, some public service announcements for you guys. Just give you some info on things you may not know that you should know about Warzone. And then we're going to talk about the Gulag, the map, the perks / the new default perks like climbing boots and commando gloves and all that, the weapons, and then any other miscellaneous kind of first impressions we have. These are the broad categories we will be going through. They're not going to be super strict, but that is the goal. So starting with some PSAs. Number 1 is, unlike Warzone 1 and maybe Warzone 2.
Warzone 2, yeah.
Okay, and Warzone 2. If you have a self-res and you get downed, it is not obvious that you have one, and you might not notice it until it's too late. And by you, I mean me. So we were playing yesterday. I got downed, and I was like chilling, waiting for a res. And then, I'm not kidding, 40 seconds later, I was like, oh, wait, I have a self-res. So I start trying to bang it, and then, of course, that's when I get pushed and killed. In every other iteration of Warzone I've ever played, if I got downed, my screen looked so different because I had a self-res that I knew I had a self-res. That is absolutely not the case in Warzone 3, which is what I'm going to be referring to this from now on, just for brevity.
No, we're not doing that. We're not saying Warzone 3. That bugs me. We're just saying Warzone. If we mean the last Warzone, we'll say Warzone 2. Now it's just Warzone, though. That's what we're calling it. It went from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2. Now we're in just Warzone.
Okay, we can use that nomenclature, sure.
Okay.
Anyways, in Warzone, then...
Warzone.
It is not obvious that you have a self-res when you're down, so make sure you're paying attention, because the text at the bottom of the orange circle, if you don't have one, will say like hold C to give up. In the same font and the same color, in the same spot, at the same size, if you do have a self-res, it'll say hold F to self-revive or whatever. No, it is always in the past looked way different. So just keep in mind.
Yeah.
You be aware, make sure you read that every time you get downed, because you might have a self and you won't know.
Yeah, because before that, like the day before, I think when we were playing, I was down for a while before I also realized I had one. I was like, oh, I have a self. So then I started selfing. So I went back before this pod. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is. In Warzone 2, it would just say, it was just white, and it would say hold down C to give up. or wait for your teammate, whatever it said. If you had a self-revive, it would change the font color. So it's like we're just programmed to notice that font color. So when you see white, you just automatically think you don't have a self-revive because it's probably been that way for 3 years now, and they decided to make them the same color. So just pay attention. You may have a self-revive and you don't even realize it.
Yes. And this is something that if it is brought to the devs' attention, they will change immediately. I would expect this to change, but not a huge deal. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, now you know you got to look at it.
Yeah. Next PSA, use an all black skin. Find the darkest black colored skin you can find, operator skin or whatever you want to call it, and also equip it and use it. That is the meta for sure for Warzone, and we will get more into that later on here. But we are back to the rose skin meta because the Warzone 2 meta was the ghillie suit guy. The dude with the ghillie suit. That was the Warzone 2 meta. That was what blended in the most. In this game, being as dark as possible is what's going to blend in the most, and we'll get into that more. But equip your darkest skin that you have. Trust me. Next PSA. Footstep audio is... I'm not 100% sure on this, but I agree with Tanner. I'm 90% sure. It is literally bugged.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, we're being funny and hyperbolic. There's no footstep audio. I'm being quite literally serious. I think there is a bug with footstep audio in Warzone.
I think it's the occlusion bug again.
I don't know how it works. I don't know how. I don't know why. Tanner had the idea that it might be some crazy audio occlusion horse poop again, which is a very good theory, and he's probably right about that. But something is wrong with the footsteps. Not just that they're too quiet or I can't hear people, which has always been true in Warzone, to be clear. It's worse now in a way that lends me to believe something's actually wrong. And Raven also tweeted about this and said, we're looking into footstep audio.
Yeah. They said, like, since launch, we've seen like lots of feedback about footstep audio. We're looking into this and, see what may be causing issues. But yeah, it's, we were playing Resurgence yesterday and I recorded a bunch of footage. I was going to clip some of it and like post it so you guys can see. It makes no sense. So many things make no sense. Like Raz floated on to me. I didn't hear his parachute. And we're in an area of the map because I was like, land over here. Because I wanted to like test some of the audio. Because I'm like, I literally think you have no footstep audio for me half the time. He parachutes in. I don't hear him. He lands on the ladder, starts walking up it. I don't hear him. I'm standing directly below the ladder. And it's like a 5-foot ladder. And I don't hear it. And then I move back. And I was like, jump down and then go up the ladder again. When you jump off things, you hear it super clear. So he jumps off that. Lands on the wood, and I hear his footsteps hit the ground. He starts climbing the ladder, and from like 10 feet away, I could hear the ladder. But when I'm standing right at it, he made no audio, and also his parachute made no audio. And then just running around like, those roofs where you can kind of go through. So it's like an open flat area, and then you can
on
jump
Vondel,
through a window. Yeah, then you can jump through a window on Vondel, and you're in like a covered, like an attic area, basically. So as soon, like I would be 10 feet from that window, I would kind of hear his footsteps. They're super, super, super quiet though. Way quieter than they've ever been in Warzone. This is with no audio going on, nothing else. And we're sitting there not talking, listening for this. And I could barely hear it. I did purposely like really try to listen to hear my own teammates' footsteps. As soon as he mantles through that window, the audio's gone. So he's opening chests right there. He's sprinting around on wood. I'm 10 feet from that window. Nothing, not a single sound source. The next thing I hear is I was like mantle back through. He mantles out, hits the ground, and then I get audio again. So there's definitely all sorts of occlusion bugs everywhere. Even on Urzikstan, when you're inside of a room, sometimes that room will be muffled. So I'll be like opening duffel bags, all of the sound's muffled. So suddenly the things are quieter. Then you leave that room into like the hallway and it's no longer muffled. So it is most definitely, I'm certain, bugged. There are so many issues with the audio. I know we complain about this all the time, but it's like this probably is the most bugged it's ever been. Warzone 2 had some issues at times with things before they fixed the occlusion. Warzone 2, like when it ended, was just what I expect from COD footstep audio. I don't think it's loud enough, but like at least when you were in buildings, I could hear people 5 floors above me. You can't even hear that anymore. So you don't hear someone above you, don't hear anyone below you. It's really, really, really bad and awful, and maybe the worst it's ever been. And it's bugged though, and everyone's complaining about it, which means it'll get fixed. I mean, even Charlie Intel, like within hours, was like, "What's up with the footstep audio?" This guy plays 10 hours of Warzone a year and has half a KD. If he's realizing it, it's bugged. So that's good. They'll get it fixed soon. Hopefully we won't have to deal with this more than another week or two till it's at least back to standard Warzone levels that I expect.
Yeah, and as an addendum to this PSA, here's another PSA. Once they fix it, you're still not going to hear people enough, ever. Warzone will never have good footstep audio. Give up on that dream. Raven is a great dev studio. They do a lot of things well. They do a lot of things right. We've sung their praises on this program many times. One thing that is just impossible, I guess, is to make me hear people that are running right next to me. It'll never happen. The footstep audio will never be even decent. It won't be acceptable, to be clear, but it will probably get at least better than it is now. So it'll go from an F to like a D+, which is an improvement.
Yeah.
It won't ever be good though. So just to be clear, don't expect that. Don't expect Raven to start parting the Red Sea. It's not possible. I don't know why. FPS devs do better. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Last little PSA here. There is a Gulag in this game, and there are some Gulag loadouts. So you get some Gulag loadouts where you're given a gun and you're told to shoot the other person. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but one of the loadouts, which is very common, I feel like there are 3 loadouts, by the way, so it's like a third of the time, actually. Your loadout will be a Sidewinder, which is and I say this in air quotes, fully automatic rifle that shoots 50 RPM. It's miserable, not worth using, bad, and not good. But you're stuck with it in the Gulag, right? So you have to use it? Wrong. With that loadout in the Gulag, if you have a Sidewinder, your secondary will always be akimbo Core 45 pistols. Never use the Sidewinder again. That's the PSA. Stop using it. Switch to the akimbo pistols. Run from piece of cover to piece of cover until you're barrel stuffing the other kid who does not listen to the Dropshot of Call of Duty podcast, who has his Sidewinder in his hands like a butthole, and easily get a free kill. It's free. You're shooting 2 pistols with a combined fire rate between them of like 1,500. He's shooting a Sidewinder, actually 300 RPM. And if you're barrel stuffing him, especially with his movement, it's super easy to do. Slide right next to him, slide right behind him. He's going to miss a bullet, and by the time his next bullet would come out of his Sidewinder, which is a miserable gun, he'll already be dead because you're barrel stuffing him with 2 pistols. I'm not kidding. You should not ever fire a Sidewinder again. I'm literally dead serious. Stop using it. And you'll be happy to see the Sidewinder kit in the Gulag after hearing this, because you'll know, oh, I just won for free, unless they also are going to switch to their pistol immediately. That's the only way you lose. It's not possible to lose without that. Or you have like a home invasion or a cardiac event. Those are the only ways you're going to lose if you're using the pistols and they're using the Sidewinder. So switch to that. Yeah, pro tip. You'll always have the akimbo pistols with that.
Yeah. I didn't realize that till yesterday. I think I was like swapping weapons. And I was like, oh, I have Core 45s. I should probably use these. I immediately torched the guy. I don't even think I got hit. I was like, oh, there's a lot easier than using that Sidewinder, man.
Yeah.
I don't like how they choose to put the worst guns in the Gulag always. I'm not the biggest fan of that. You know?
To be fair, I think the loadouts right now, the ones I remember are the Sidewinder, the Striker SMG, which is totally fine, and the SVA AR, which is also totally fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are other kits. Those are the only ones I can remember. At least they're full auto. Well, 2 of them. 2.5. 2 asterisk. But yeah, I didn't think to do this until, again, this morning I was watching Symphony, and he did it. He had a Sidewinder. He just, before the timer even was done, he had his pistols out. And he just runs right up to the guy, free. Super free. I was like, dude, that's such a good idea. I should be doing that. So anyway. And then speaking of a couple other PSAs for the Gulag, as expected, the rope in the middle that has replaced the overtime flag is not a good idea to take. You will die doing it, always. I've watched streams. I've played the game. I have never seen anyone successfully exfil with using the rope. You will be shot and killed doing it, so don't try it. You tried this once, Tanner, right?
I tried it more than once. I used it 4 times yesterday. The only time it didn't work was the first time. The next 3 times, I won the Gulag and did not even get shot at.
Wow.
Not even shot at. It worked perfectly every time.
Which VPN were you using?
In fact, I recommend all of you to be doing this. Smoke mid, like every single loadout has a smoke, basically. Throw it at mid right when the rope drops. I don't know. Some people say like they don't notice the rope. I don't know if the rope comes every match or not. Does it? It certainly seems that it does. Okay.
At the end of the timer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I used it and it's worked 3 out of 4 times. And in fact, it will not work like 2 weeks from now because people will realize how easy it is. They just don't pay attention. I think so many people just don't even realize a rope does come down at all. They're not used to it. So you smoke it, you start going up there, and it's easy. And then like you'll be at the top, and then I can look down, and I can see the guy just standing there at mid, and he's like just looking straight. He's looking for me. He had no clue there was a rope and that I went up it. So I highly recommend you all use this. I think it's very busted and easy to win right now.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Yeah, no one's ever tried it on me. I've never tried it. You tried it the first time and then were telling me about it.
Yeah.
And then someone tried it on Symphony and he died super easily when I was watching this morning. So I just assumed it was impossible. Symphony killed some guy.
Well, Symphony has a brain. Most people you're going to go against in lobbies. That's the thing.
That's fair.
That's what I'm saying. Like so many players probably just don't even know there's a rope system now. They don't read the patch notes. They don't know what's going on. So I think it's easy, but yeah, this will not be the case for long. People will start realizing it more and more, and then they'll just watch the rope. Because that's what I said when we found out this mechanic was coming. I was like, why would you not just sit in the back and watch the rope then? That's what I would do. And then you said something like, well, then you risk like both losing the Gulag.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know though. Because I feel like some random player you're up against who's probably not very good would eventually just try to hit it. So I haven't tried camping the rope yet because I just always end up taking it. So it's worked very well for me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I stand corrected then. Yeah. And you are right. By the way, I think literally every Gulag loadout has a smoke.
One of them may have like a shock stick because I thought I threw one of those one time.
One of them does have a shock stick. You're right.
There's also loot on the ground, so there may be like a smoke around where you spawn that you can grab.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I stand corrected. So that's it for the PSAs. I'm sure there are other things we could talk about, but we've forgotten them. And by the way, I should have said this earlier as well. We're not going to talk about every single facet of Warzone.
No, not even close.
These are our first impressions. These are the things that struck us enough to write down to talk about, but this is not meant to be an exhaustive review of every single mechanic in Warzone, obviously. These are just things that have stood out to us. So, next topic is the Gulag in general. So, first impressions of the Gulag. I don't have too much to say. I like how small it is. I will start there. There have been some annoyingly large gulags where you can actually be looking for the other guy and you're just like ring around the rosying each other and it's just really boring and a waste of time. That's not really possible with how small this gulag is, which I think is good. I want it to be done quickly, win, lose, or draw. And that the size of this gulag is conducive to that. It has like no verticality, it turns out, actually, besides the rope. It's one flat plane, which again, I quite like. It makes finding people way easier. They're literally left lane, mid, or right lane. Those are the only places they could be. Or on the rope, extracting on you and laughing at you, I guess. So that I also like because again, it makes fast gulag matches, which is what I want. The visibility is fine. I think it's a lot better than I expected. I've never been in the Gulag, and it might be because it's so small that they can't be very far away from you, so you see them pretty easily. And obviously you expect them there. But I've never had issues seeing anyone in the Gulag, which is a pleasant surprise. The water doesn't matter. And if you go in it, you splash loudly.
Yeah, it's actually just hurting you because that's the one thing that doesn't make sound in the Gulag.
Exactly.
Is the water.
Yeah. So like the water's a bait, which is good because I don't want the water to be an effective strategy. So I like that. The one downside I think of it is it does not, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure. I'm like 80% sure this is the case. One spawn has 2 wooden crates on the right and left side that are fairly close to where you spawn. The opposite side has 2 like white concrete pieces of cover that are the same size, but they are closer to mid than the wooden boxes are to their respective spawn. Meaning, if you get the wooden crate spawn, you can get behind cover looking down a lane far more quickly than the other spawn can, meaning that spawn could be better. And I don't like that. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure this is the layout of the Gulag, but if it is, I think that's dumb and it should have perfect symmetry. So if the wooden boxes are on that side of the spawn, they should be in the same spot on the other side. I'm not positive, but
yeah, I'm not positive either.
One thing I don't love. Now I'll also add, even though that is a con, if I am correct, not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. It's not like you auto lose by getting the other spawn. And there have been Gulags where one spawn is just massively advantaged over another because of like a nasty head glitch or jump spot or something. I can't think of any examples right now, but I know that that's true.
Yeah.
So nothing like that exists in this Gulag, which is good. But overall, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's in fact better than average, I would say. Compared
Better
to
than most
we've
Gulags they've made. Yeah, they've made some really, really bad ones. I'm not a huge fan, but I think actually the biggest reason why is because of the Sidewinder. Because if somebody gets that spawn and they mount up on that right box, you can't rip them off it because they see your whole body moving wherever you are. And then you see the top of their head and not their gun, and you see their Sidewinder and they're beaming you. It's very hard to rip somebody off a head glitch like that with a Sidewinder with that fire rate when I'm also like strafing and trying to shoot them while they see me clearly and fully. It's just not good. So that's like seriously never use the Sidewinder. Just bust out the core 45s and move, or just lay at mid and watch the road. Do something, but don't use the Sidewinder. Yeah. Another thing is too, the audio is also non-existent in the Gulag. There's like metal framing. There's a metal floor all around the area around mid. People run across that and you don't hear them. So that's the other thing. I think when they fix the audio, it will get better. And by the way, Raven, like 10 minutes ago, tweeted that Dead Silence field upgrade has been disabled. So maybe they found some sort of bug relating to something somehow. Because nobody was ever using Dead Silence, right? Nobody ever actually used it. They just didn't have footstep audio. So maybe they're figuring something out and we'll have a patch.
It wasn't needed
next week. Yeah. But, you know, the actual features of the Gulag are nice now. There are like 3 different variations you can get of the actual map. So the map layout will vary a little bit.
Maybe that's why I feel like it's not symmetrical.
Yeah, there are different variations. Actually, we can probably find it in this blog
That's probably
post.
what it probably is symmetrical. And every time I've thought I got the other spawn without the wooden boxes, what actually happened is I just got a different map variant and the adjacent spawn is the same. That's probably the case.
Yeah,
okay,
so there each map variant offers 3 clear lanes following or allowing for simple 1v1 gameplay. So there's one with a box center with various cover, crates in the corners, riddle the layout, making it dangerous to rush, then an open layout with light cover, and a circular exposed center, and then a fairly open center one. So there are 3 different variations. That's the other thing, yeah. So that's like a couple variations, I can't figure out which ones yet because I don't pay attention to it that much, are much worse than others. Much, much worse than others. I think the one where mid is boxed in is the really bad one. Like they show this image in the blog post I'm looking at. That one I think is the really awful one. But yeah, so at least one of the variations seems decent. And then they have like the new events too, which is cool. So like locked and loaded. It's very obvious. It shows in the middle of the screen. It's like locked and loaded. And you start with armor and then better guns too. So it'll be like a suppressed striker 45 with attachments. That's one I've gotten. There's the new go again feature where if you die in the Gulag, you have a chance to just do it again versus a different opponent. So that's cool too. So the actual features of the Gulag are nice. Yeah, not my favorite Gulag ever, but it's definitely way better than most of them for sure. So if audio gets fixed and we get better guns, the Gulag will be goated.
Yeah. I largely agree. Another PSA, I guess, about the Gulag. If you win, you get like maybe 3 seconds after winning to like loot stuff, and you should loot stuff. So that's like, they even talked about that in the blog post or patch notes, but it's one of the new features of this Gulag, irrespective of the variant, is if you kill the guy, you don't just like stop moving and get immediately extracted. You're free to move around and loot for like, I want to say about 3 seconds before you load out, and anything you loot in that time you will keep. So you should be doing that. I'm not doing that because I always forget. But yeah, if you win the Gulag, basically what you should do when you win the Gulag is rush mid, loot along the way, and there's often some loot at mid. It'll be a cash stack or plates or whatever. I don't know, ammo, something. Again, I've never done it, but I have seen like stacks of cash there. So that's just another little PSA for you. So there you go. Yeah, not much to say about the Gulag. Let's move on to the map. Urzikstan. Okay, well, I want to start with the obvious. The visibility, of course. So Tanner and I saw screenshots of Urzikstan, as did all of you, prior to the integration. And we said, wow, it's sunny out. It's not overcast. Clear blue skies. Visibility looks like it's going to be really good. That is absolutely true. The visibility when you are outside is immaculate. It's perfect. It couldn't really be better. You can, if you're like,
no, it couldn't.
If you're on elevation, you see people, if they're in your sight line, you'll see them pretty clearly. It's just that simple. Player character models will also render far away.
Past 30 meters like they did in Warzone 2, they would just stop rendering and it would be a standing man just gliding. So how are you supposed to hit a shot at that range? You can't.
Exactly. Yeah, that is not a problem here. So the really good visibility, hand in hand with seeing character models far away, is good, especially if you're like sniping or something. We'll get into that. So the visibility outside is actually perfect. It's exactly what I was hoping for based on the screenshots. However, unfortunately, inside, not every building, but a lot of buildings, the inside of the buildings are dark, and it is impossible to see enemy players in buildings. I have died already numerous times by going into a room. A guy is right there on my screen, and I don't even know he's there because he has a black skin on, and it is, I mean, it's Vanta Black or whatever that new shade is that people are painting cars with. It's a black hole of despair and bad visibility. And I just don't see the guy in there, and he just destroys me only because I couldn't see him at all. So like Fortune's Keep in the Keep, you know how you couldn't see people in there? And we talked about that a lot. That's how bad it is in a lot of buildings in Urzikstan.
Yeah.
Not every building, luckily. Otherwise, this would be a way bigger issue for me. But in far too many of them, if someone's inside and it's dark and there's like shadows or just a lack of light, sunlight or artificial light, and a lot of rooms, a lot of buildings don't have any light, you will not see people with dark skins, and they will kill you. And it's really annoying. Like Tanner and I both died to the same guy because he was in like some little shack on the bed of a river or a lake, rather. It was just some shack. So there's no lights in there. This guy is in there. He kills Tanner. I know he's in there. And I run in there and he kills me too because I don't know where he is until I'm getting shot. Now I don't have plates. So it's really, really bad, unfortunately. And this I don't think is getting fixed, unlike Footsteps, for example. I think it's always just going to be, okay, well, he was in a dark corner and I didn't see him. I don't think they're ever going to change it, unfortunately.
I don't think so either, yeah. Because it's not even like one skin, it's like any operator skin is doing it. Like anything that has an amount of black on it is making it so you can't see. So yeah, I'm not too optimistic this will ever get fixed. The visibility is just going to be bad inside, probably, yeah. It's more, I think it's like the taller buildings, like multiple floor buildings a lot of times. I don't remember if I was playing with you at the time, but like somebody went into a room, I think it was you, and you immediately like got down to the guy and you're like, I don't even know where he's at. He's in some corner. It was you or Jake, whoever I was playing duos with, but probably you. Jake doesn't usually die. But anyways, I go in and it was so hard for me to find the guy too. I only found him because his character model, he was like throwing a grenade, so like had his arm up and he was moving, but he was just blending in. It's difficult. Yeah. But yeah, it's not all of them. So I don't expect this to ever get fixed. Yeah, the outside visibility is the best it's ever been in Warzone, I think.
I agree. Yeah.
Especially sniping. If we're on like Trump Tower downtown sniping, I can not be ADS looking around and I can see some little character model out of the corner of my eye 300 meters away. Zoom in, I'm like, yep, there's a guy there. And I can spot that. Hasn't been the case for a long time, if ever, in Warzone. Maybe like OG Verdansk when the lighting was better before they ruined it with the Cold War integration when the Verdansk 84 came, where they put the yellow, ugly sun haze and fog all over the entire map. Yeah. But like Peak Verdansk also had really good visibility. This is basically like that. Excellent. Yeah. It's so good looking. So take advantage of it because by season 2 or 3, they'll decide that a storm's rolling in and they'll make it foggy and bad again, like they always do. Yeah, they can't just leave something perfect. They'll always just ruin it. Always.
That's
Moz,
true.
they added the sandstorm. They'll do something. I'm certain they will.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the visibility is the best it's ever been, I think, actually. Yeah. And like you're saying, I don't recall even on like, OG Verdansk or like Caldera maybe, where the visibility was by and large good outside. I don't think I was ever able to be on a roof and look around with a sniper and see people without ADSing. You would have to like scope in and look around to find people, but you don't have to do that. In this game. And I don't think that was ever true before. So yeah, it's really good for sure.
Yeah. Next thing for me. So the train, they have the new train now. You can land on it. It always has a buy station on it. It always has at least one orange crate on it, which is the rare one. It's got the UAV tower. You can ping for $2,000 to get a UAV sweep. It's not good, unfortunately. I expected this to be a hot drop, and it's not at all. Because I think people try it, and then they realize it doesn't have very much loot. So I think the train needs a serious buff. I think like more than 50% of the time, if you land there and loot train, you have enough money to buy a loadout immediately on the train. That's how it needs to be. That'll create a hot drop location. It'll create a fun early game, and it gives you a reason to go there. Right now, there's no reason to go there. You get actually $2,500, $3,000. Okay, there's an ammo refill. I have a Sidewinder and a Core 45. I got nothing out of it. So you end up just jumping off the train at the next little town or whatever and looting there. So it's a waste. There needs to be just more loot so someone can actually just choose to sit on the train for a long time. So I think more than anything, that would create just a really hot drop spot. It'd be very fun to fight on that.
I was expecting it to be.
I mean, how many times have we landed train? 5, 6? I'm not kidding. Like, I think 4 of those, not a single other team landed there. Like, usually just nobody goes there. And when people did land, there was one other team. So, they need to buff it a lot, I think. Way more loot. There are like, because they advertise it as like, oh, there's a rare chest on it guarantee. It's like, okay. Those in Warzone this game, Warzone this version, give you like nothing good. They don't even usually give you money. It's just like you get a portable redeploy drone or something stupid that I'm not going to take anyway. So they're not even good in this game. They haven't been since Warzone 2 launched. The orange crates are not good like they were in Warzone 1. Like, you used to get 8,000, 10,000 stacks out of those. I seriously don't think you get money half the time out of them now. So that means nothing. So, like, double or triple the amount of crates on the train, make it worth landing at.
Yeah, I think the train is worth landing at, but I also do think it needs a buff. I think it should be better. I don't think it's like a waste to land there, because there are, you know, at least like 3 crates guaranteed, one of which is orange. They could give you something. I mean, you could get even like a loadout drop marker, which I think happened to me once. I think it was before you got on when me and JK and L were playing. And there's the ammo refill thing, which is kind of nice too, because then you already have your pistol. So if you just find an AR, then you can have full AR and SMG ammo like 10 seconds into the game. I think that's pretty cool too. But yeah, there's like the buy station on there, which is cool for mid game. And then there's the UAV tower on there, which is cool for mid game. But early game like that, I'm not spending money on a UAV suite ever. And I'm not going to get enough money to buy a loadout at the buy. So I'm never spending money at the buy early game ever either. I'm saving it for a loadout. So I think it could be better. Yeah, for sure. And maybe, you know what it could use also, in addition to what you said, is a guaranteed contract. Maybe not the same contract every time. Like it used to be a guaranteed recon. We don't need to get that crazy, but maybe guarantee a random contract on there. That would give it more, that would make it more worth going there. Because it would be, and it would make it a hot spot. That's one thing about this map. I guess this will be the next point. I don't know if there's like a superstore equivalent on this map. I don't know if there will be, I should say. There isn't right now, but the map is still very new. So even if there was some place that was really worth going to, not enough people know about it yet. However, I don't think that's the reason there isn't a hot drop spot. I think the reason is there doesn't exist one that people have yet to discover. There just isn't one.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there is some POI where the loot's always super good and it will be the hot drop spot in 2 months. I don't think so, though. And I think there should be some place like that on big map to where the really good, really aggressive players can land right away. They have to fight like every time, just like Superstore. You had to fight if you hot drop there. Just like Peak on Caldera, at some point anyway. The loot was so good that if you drop there, you have to fight. I think Urzikstan should have something like that. And I don't know if any place will become that.
Yeah,
I don't think the loot's good enough anywhere.
And that's kind of the thing with, like, there will be some hot drop location eventually. There always will be. But it's like the way the map is laid out with all the buildings. There's no just like one big building at a POI or something that seems to be the spot where you can get everything and then also buy. Like, it's just a bunch of, like, I was watching some of the Wager kids yesterday playing a tournament, and they kept landing Lowtown. It's just a bunch of small buildings, but they would keep landing in that location. I think because there was a buy and like a balloon there, so they would usually go there. And there were quite a few people landing there. Like, they were in quads because it was a kill race, so 2v2, and then, I mean, there would be like 3 teams landing there, 3 or 4 teams, it seemed like. So that was a pretty hot location. But yeah, like Peak on Caldera was it was a big POI, and then there's like nothing around it. Superstore, it was the big building, and then kind of empty area around it. This, it just seems like the whole map is small buildings everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what it'll end up being. There will be something that people gravitate more towards, but I think having the train buffed would help with that too.
You know what would also be cool about that is it would be the first time the hot drop spot is dynamic. You can't make a hot drop spot dynamic unless it moves. Like,
and train was always a hot drop in Verdansk too. Like that was one of the spots a lot of people would go. That was the hot drop before Superstore ever was. There'd be a lot of teams going train pretty often. It
was a warm drop spot. I don't know about hot. It was a warm drop spot. But yeah, that's fair. You're right.
I don't know. Yeah,
But
maybe
yeah,
you just
and
die
like you
so quickly. You
said,
didn't
there was
notice.
more reason to go there. But it would be cool if like the spot was mobile. Like imagine if Peak was instead all that loot was on a train, like the trolley or whatever. How
The
cool would
trolley?
that be? Because then every game, all the sweats, instead of going to the same POI, would still be going to the same POI every game, but it would be in a different spot on the map. That would be cool. It would add some dynamism to the early game for those very aggressive players. But anyway, yeah. Next is balloons. The number of balloons on Urzikstan, I think, is enough. We could use more. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I don't think there are too few balloons like I thought for Ashika or Mazra even. I think the number we are at right now is the bare minimum for me to say there are enough balloons. Now, again, I would happily accept 5 or 10 more, to be clear.
Yeah.
I don't think we're anywhere close to too many, but at least we don't have too few, I would say. I would say if we only had this number of balloons forever, that would be fine. And also the utility of the balloons is good. They're very worth using. They take you very high in the air and they launch you pretty dang far, especially relative to the size of the overall map. Balloons are worth using and there are enough of them, and I'm very pleased to report that is basically my
you can
position.
Pretty much balloon hop. We did this a couple times. Go from balloon to balloon. So it seems like there are enough of them if you like search that out, but I too would also just enjoy a lot more of them. And they're very important on this map because so many areas are just flat and there's not like a big building to get on. So you have to actually use balloons and not, which I guess I should have probably said this in the PSA. Shoot down balloons on the edge of gas when you know people are going to be coming in. I did this.
We got a team wipe doing that.
Yeah, I did this yesterday. We saw a team because like one guy, we saw him going up like, oh, there's a guy coming off that. So my teammates who were all really stupid, it was you, Cope, and who was it? Jake at the time? I think we were playing with Jake. They all start shooting at the person.
Time then.
No, they all start shooting at the person. So I'm like, no, shoot at the balloon. So then I shoot at the balloon, shoot it down as one of them is trying to go up at halfway. So then he falls. So then they start running into zone and we just kill all of them easily. Whereas otherwise they would have ballooned over this. They don't take a lot of shots to shoot down. Make sure you shoot down the balloons like that.
Yeah. I was thinking of it. I guess this was a different time then. You and I were playing duos. We were on Trump Tower sniping. And then I called in a deployable buy. We popped a UAV. You saw some red dots going toward a balloon from out of gas.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, dude, they're going to take that. We should shoot it down. So we did. And then those two guys were just free. Because they were just running below us. And we just killed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shoot them down.
So that is a good little PSA.
They may need more health even, I don't know, but definitely shoot them down, especially on this map. You will like completely kill somebody's rotation and just get an easy squad wipe that way.
Yeah, especially if they're trying to come in from gas and they're like banking on it.
Yeah.
Because that would work on me, to be clear.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because they're just like thinking, they're like, I'm gonna, like, it's fine, we have a balloon here, we'll just hit the balloon. And then boom, you destroy it. And it just kills their entire
and there's
plan.
No plan B.
There's nothing, so.
Yeah, exactly. Question on that. So like in Caldera, balloons were destroyable with 150,000 rounds. But they were also repairable instantly. Are the drones repairable? Do they respawn?
I was wondering that too.
What's
I don't think
with that?
so. I don't think there's anything you can do and it doesn't respawn in the same spot. Well, when I shoot them down, usually one just ends up coming in like a minute or two later. And I think it's the one you destroyed. It just essentially respawns, but it's already repositioning because usually when we destroy them, it's like when they're about to be in gas. So I think it does just respawn after a certain time and goes to the next location it was supposed to be going to.
Okay.
I think.
That makes sense. That's how it should work, by the way.
Yeah.
Because being able to instantly repair it like you could in Caldera, it was like, why bother shooting a balloon?
Yeah.
Who's going to press a button first and then press another button to hit it?
It took the same amount of time as inserting one armor plate to repair the balloon.
Yeah,
And
was
it
dumb.
cost money, I think, but it was like 2,000.
It was a negligible amount. I don't
and
think
you
it
always
was even that
ended
much.
a Caldera match with $1 million, basically.
That's also true. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Next thing here is the player count. This is the hot discussion, the 100 players. So start with this. As of right now, I don't know if it needs to be changed. It's too hard to tell. I think you need a couple weeks of playtime to really figure it out. Sometimes my matches feel super hot, and then the next game, it just feels so dead for a long time. And like you can't find anybody. We're roaming around, we're rotating, and you just can't find anyone. And it feels like nothing's going on. Part of this too is honestly probably because since everyone runs suppressors, like it really does suppress gunshots, so you don't hear anything. Whereas Mazra, no one ran suppressors, so you always heard gunshots, you would hear action. So this, maybe there's a bunch of action going on, you just don't hear or see it happening. But a lot of times it makes it feel that way. But then, at the same time, even when a match doesn't feel hot, you seem to just always be getting third party. And it's weird that that's happening with 100 players. So yeah. I don't really know what's going on. I think the map, though, has way too many small buildings. So it probably does need more players because it's like, again, people are landing at different little houses, different buildings in the same POI and looting and just not fighting right away. Whereas before, Peak, Superstore, big, open, large POIs that people would always fight at, you get action immediately. This is like there's too many little buildings, so you're all spread out and just not seeing each other. So of course, what I want, I've said it a bunch, 150 players, I want that to come back with removing all of the respawn mechanics they've added into game. Maybe keep like one of them, like maybe keep like Gulag tokens, but remove the extractions, remove the flares, go back to like OG BR, make Warzone an actual battle royale again. And I'm starting to see more people talk about this now. And yeah, I've been saying this for the last year. I don't know why they do this. I don't know why we add all these respawn mechanics in. I don't know why they're cutting the player base. They're just meshing it with Resurgence because they're probably seeing like, oh, Resurgence has become so popular. Let's change BR to be faster pace. We don't need that. People that left BR to go to Resurgence, they are never coming back. They like Resurgence. That's what they're going to play. So why are we trying to make BR feel like Resurgence by letting somebody respawn actually 70 times in a match if they want to? I mean, like, what are we doing? It's unnecessary. Make it feel like a BR. I'm dead all the time. I will gladly have an 8-minute longer match and be dead half of it and wait for my teammate to buy me back. They're just meshing it too much with Resurgence, and it makes no sense they want to get everyone into the action and give second chance opportunities when we have Resurgence right there, and so many people love it. Doesn't make any sense. I don't like how they're doing this. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter because we're never going back to 150 players. They're not removing these respawn mechanics, so the best you can hope for is like 120 or 130 players. But yeah, I don't know how that'll play on this map. I don't know if it'll just be a crazy amount of third parties. I'm not sure. It would be cool if they added like an experimental Warzone playlist like Sledgehammer does with multiplayer. Add in 130 players for 3 days. Let people play it. Leave the core game there. If you get good feedback, then add it to the game. If you get bad feedback, then don't add it, you know? Or leave it in for a week in the playlist update. They need to do something like that because I do want to try it, but I'm worried if they go like 120, 130 and it feels awful, they'll just never change it again and they'll just leave it at that. So I don't know. But basically I don't know where I stand on the player count right now, but I don't like how it feels like Resurgence now. But that's not new. It's felt like that for a long time now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With respect to player count, there have been a couple games where the mid game is a slog, real slow. But most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time the pacing is good enough, I would say. We've gotten some feedback from our community in our Discord where people have been saying the end game on Urzikstan is a lot slower, slower and less crazy than the end game of Al Mazrah. And they want more player count to make the end game more exciting. That I do agree with.
Yes.
The end game on Maz was consistently way more crazy with way more people in a way smaller circle than I've literally ever had on Urzikstan. And I've played quite a few hours now. But that's not to say the end games on Urzikstan are like boring. I don't know if I really need it to be as crazy as it was every endgame on Moz prior to 100 players anyway. And I think endgames right now are always still pretty exciting, even if there's only one or two other teams. I'm kind of okay with that. What is most important to me is a healthy mid game. This is where you're going to spend the most of your time. So this is what needs to have the best pacing. And by and large, the pacing has been pretty consistently good on Urzikstan, but not always. There have been a couple games where it's a little slow. So I ultimately agree. I don't know if I certainly don't want fewer players. I'll start there.
Certainly, yeah.
I don't know if I want more players. I'm largely happy with the player count now, but I would absolutely be open to trying 120 or 130 or 150. See how it feels and go from there. But that's not to say that I would definitely be happier with 130 because I'm not sure. I'd have to play it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
But like when you really think about it right now, it doesn't feel like there's like a high point to the match. When does it feel super hot? Never. Warzone 1 early game felt super hot. Moz late game felt super hot. This just feels warm the entire match basically. So that does make me think it probably does need more players. There's no hot drop yet, it seems like. Mid game is fine. You get in fights. And then late game is like actually where there will be 10 people left. I've said this so many times. I'll like look at it. I'm like, oh my God, there's only one other team left. Like what? And it's a circle size where I'm not kidding on Moz. You would probably have 20, 25 people left and you'll have 10 on this map. So it probably does need more players, but I'm not. Maybe there are other things they'll do instead, like circle timings, making the starting circle smaller. Cause again, they're trying just to make it resurgence, but I don't know.
That's another thing too, to keep in mind is that like, people are saying, oh, well, Urzikstan, the devs, I should say, are saying, oh, Urzikstan is a smaller map than Al Mazrah. So even though the player count is still 100, it's going to feel more dense because the map is bigger. That's not really true, though, because unlike Warzone 2, the starting circles on Urzikstan make sense, and all of the starting circle area is playable. Now, if you guys will recall, the starting circles before Urzikstan were never in the playable area. It would be 10% of the circle is in the map, and the rest of it is going off the map. So like, oh, Al Mazrah is a bigger map. When the starting circle is only 30% on land, and the rest of it is either in water or out of bounds, it's not a bigger map, actually. It's a smaller map. Because I can only land on 30% of it. Whereas on a Urzikstan, the starting circle, with literally one match exception, is always all playable area. So effectively, Urzikstan is a bigger map, even though it's smaller, only because the starting circles have finally been fixed and make sense. And that's what I think contributes to the kind of disparate pacing, where one game will feel like a healthy mid game and the other one will feel super dead. It's because when I can play on the whole map early game, some games I'm going to land at a POI and no one else will be there because they could go anywhere else on the map because the starting circles make sense. And in some games, I will go to a POI and 4 other teams will happen to land there, even though they could go anywhere else just by happenstance. And then that game's going to feel hotter. Whereas again, with Moz and pretty much every other map we've had, you're forced into a hot early game because the starting circles make no gosh darn sense. So that's, I think, another reason why the pacing feels different.
Yeah, that's true. You know, hot take, then maybe we need those bad circles a little bit more often.
I strongly disagree. I'd rather just
because I'll be honest,
players.
it is the circle looks the same almost every match, and to an extent, that kind of ends up getting boring at times. Like Moz, also, it would be extra bad because half the circle would be in water on the bottom side of the map. This map doesn't
Yeah.
have as much water that completely ruins it like that when the circle ends there. Like, there have been a couple circles that are crazy like that, but, you know, it is kind of weird because it's like, why even tell me where the circle's at when I can land anywhere on the map I want every single match? Maybe they do need to bring some of those back a little bit more often. At least, like, even move the circle a little bit more. I mean, they're seriously always almost directly in the middle of the map. And I used to think I wanted that on Moz, but after seeing it now, I think we do need more variety in that. Even like maybe circle splitters or something, bringing that back would kind of be interesting. I don't know. But something just feels wrong. I can't quite figure it out exactly what it is. But the circle thing makes a ton of sense because the Moz circles, oh my God, yeah, they would. The playable area would be so much smaller than the standard circle in this game. So people are way more spread out.
So. On Urzikstan, yeah. Let me be clear. I don't think we should go back to the miserable circles we've had in the past, where most of the map you just can't land on. Although I do agree with you, the starting circles could use a little more variety than we have now, because they're always like dead center map, and you can land pretty much anywhere. Which I'd prefer that to Moz circles, but there probably is a happy medium where we could get a little more variety. Instead of 100% of the circle being playable area, maybe it should be 80% or 70% each game. So then you get some more variety and higher player density because you're cutting off more playable area. Maybe. But I don't want them to go overboard with this and go back to Moz.
No,
where it's 10%, you know? Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah. Because then also, you know, doing the weird circles it makes people land at different locations. You know, like having the choice to just land Trump Tower like we do every match, eventually that kind of gets old. You do want to be forced into other areas and have to play somewhere you would usually just not land. It does make things very interesting. So I don't know. I think to an extent they need to change them a little bit, some of the circles, but like obviously I don't want it like how it was in Moz and Caldera when it was bugged at some point. It was always on the outside of the map, always. But it was actually like, well, I wouldn't say it was bugged. They just did it that way, and then they fixed it at some point. They changed it, but yeah.
So it's just something to consider. There are, as Raven has already kind of talked about, so many ways to adjust the pacing of a match. And player count is really just one variable because, again, you could make crazy starting circles and then 100 players is going to feel like a whole lot more than it does now. You could make the circles close way faster, and that's going to make it feel like a whole lot more players. You can make the circles smaller. That's going to make it feel like a whole lot more players. So, like, people asking for more player count, I think are really asking for more player density, and maybe they don't necessarily want more player count. That's just the most obvious thing you think of. So it's just something to keep in mind. And Raven is keeping that in mind. They talked about it extensively when they talked about leaving it at 100 players. So we'll see. But yeah, overall, I would be open to higher player density, whether that means adjusting starting circles or adding players. I would be, I think, okay with both.
Yeah. That's what's funny. Like, Swag keeps tweeting things every day. Like, 3 days after Warzone launch, he tweets at Raven, and he's like 150 players, and he's been tweeting that every day. It's like, bro, think about something for a second. Like, how often would you be getting third-partied with 150 players with these rotations and whatnot? It's like, think about it for a second. I don't know. There's definitely a lot more that goes into it than the actual player count, of course.
And more players also make sniping a lot more of a problem as well. Because if you can get third-partied by snipers, well, you're going to get third-partied a lot more if you add more players. Because they can actually do it from 200 meters away.
So that's what will happen.
Like, on Moz, that wasn't possible. You know,
they're going to make it 120 players. Then all the players they're gonna nerf the Bass-B, so then no one will be using that. And then all the players, those guys will then start getting sniped a lot more often. So then they'll continue to complain about snipers, and then they'll nerf one shot sniping again.
No.
It's the classic. It's the classic.
That's obviously true, but we'll get more into that. So anyway, overall on the map, As far as like, oh, is it a good map? Or like some people have been saying every POI feels the same. I reject this position out of hand. The reason every POI feels the same to you right now is because the map is still unfamiliar. Once you learn it more, POIs are going to feel distinct. They are different. They are quite different. But they just all feel the same because you don't know where you are. And it's all a new map, and you're not familiar enough to feel like different POIs have different character. I 100% stand by that, and I think people are going to stop saying that in 2 months. However, is the map good? Are there too many buildings? Are there not enough buildings? Are there too many long sight lines? Are there not enough? I don't know. I have no idea. My overall impressions on the map are still, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I do have a variety of gunfights. I feel like I fight in buildings. I feel like I fight mid-range. I feel like I fight very far, long range. And that's what I want. And you can even kind of cater your gunfight distances to what weapons you're using. So like when Tanner and I will be sniping, we will go Trump Tower, and our gunfights are now at 200 meters. But if we're not doing that, we won't land Trump Tower. We will run around and do other things, and then we can adjust the distances of our fights.
Yeah.
Using the map. And that wasn't necessarily always true. Like if you wanted to play Caldera and be using high recoil guns up close in all your gunfights, you couldn't cater your playstyle to do that on Caldera. It wasn't possible. The map wouldn't let you. There were too many long sightlines. But on this map, I think you can. I think if you want to play like, I want to be inside everyone when I get in a gunfight, you can do that, which is good. You want to be able to have that capability depending on the map, and I think this map gives you that. But it's still ultimately way too early for me to give like an overall take on how good this map is. With that said, I like this map. I think the size is good. I think the POIs are good. I think it's too early to tell, but overall, I think I'm going to end up looking on this map favorably. And even though there are a ton of buildings, none of them are as bad as the Verdansk buildings were, where you could shoot out of every window in a 14-story building. That's not possible anymore. Here's an easy comparison. Trump Tower on Verdansk. You could shoot out of every single story of that 20-story building from downtown and all those windows. Really bad and not good also. Trump Tower on Urzikstan. Equally tall, probably, about, but you can only shoot from the bottom or the top. That's all. Those are the only two areas. So you get the building, it's the same size, it's the same footprint, it's the same height, but it's not nearly as cancerous to try and fight someone there, because instead of, like on Verdansk, having to check 20 different stories worth of 5 windows on one wall, what is the math there? 100 spots?
I didn't think most of the buildings had a bunch
from?
of windows. I thought they would just have like a few going up, like every 5 floors or 10 floors or something. I didn't think they had windows every single one, did they?
I'm pretty sure they did. Promenade, they didn't. Promenade, it was like every 2 or 3 stories there was a window in those narrow staircases. But downtown, it was like literally every single window, because it was just a glass wall when you're going up the stairs, like those narrow stairs. You could shoot out of all of them. And even if it was like Promenade, every 2 or 3 stories, that's still really toxic when it's a 20-story building, because that's going to be, instead of 20 different levels that people could be shooting you from, it is instead, 7 plus the roof is 8. Still toxic. Still worse than Urzikstan, which is 2 for an equivalently tall building. That makes the buildings on this map way better than Verdansk buildings. So even if there are more, it doesn't feel as bad because being camped by someone in a building is not nearly as insurmountable as it once was. And that was my problem with buildings and the amount of buildings in Verdansk. I now have realized it wasn't the buildings or the number of buildings on that map that made me hate a lot of areas of Verdansk. Rather, it was the design of the buildings. And they learned that lesson, and I would have never thought to fix the issue in the way that they did, which I give kudos to the devs for. They like this. We noticed this with Vondel, actually, where we were like, oh, this could be toxic. But then Tanner, I think, made the point. He's like, well, you can't shoot out of anything but the roof or the bottom floor. So it's really not that bad. If you're getting camped there, you get shot from that building, you only have to check 2 spots. Whereas on Verdansk, you'd have to check 10. So, yeah, anyway, just to the people saying there are too many buildings, I'm not sure I agree. I'm not sure I disagree, though. It's too early to tell. But yeah, what are your overall kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a really good map. Yeah, way too early to really figure things out. I do think there are way too many small buildings. I think we need more, because like people talk about, oh, there's open space between the POIs. Not really, not that much, not all of them. And then so many of the POIs to me are just awful. Pop up the ground war maps. Those are all. Military base is so bad. Think military base.
Like a bad POI.
Like think military base in Verdansk. Excellent. A few buildings, small, a long open runway, some bunkers. This military base, there are probably more buildings in the military base POI than Verdansk had on it total. There are so many. There are tent buildings, there are shacks everywhere. You can't go 10 feet without a different building. And it's not fun to fight in when there are that many of them. So, unfortunately, things like that are never changing. But there are so many buildings. They all have different layouts. Of course, you'll learn that eventually, but a bunch of them have so many rooms in them, different levels. There are just way too many buildings all across the whole map, in my opinion. So that's the biggest thing. Like power plant sucks. The whole top left of the map is awful, in my opinion. Do we have a map on these notes? We do here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Levin Resort, Popov Power, and military base. That whole part of the map doesn't exist, in my opinion. I don't choose to go up there ever. I don't like any of it. Cargo area I like. Low Town, Old Town seems pretty good. Farms, we need more areas like farms. But we need that like in between a POI in the middle of the map. How it's open, it's a bunch of open space. But it's on the edge of the map. That's the farmland of Verdansk just for this map. And then, city and suburbs, obviously it's all buildings, which I like city because I've been sniping a lot, so I like the tall buildings down there. But if I'm not sniping, I don't like it at all. That's the other thing. So we like the buildings because we've been sniping, right? If we end up getting sniped a bunch from those buildings up there when we're trying to rotate in, we're immediately not going to like downtown anymore. There are a lot of buildings you can get on high roofs on, a lot of them. And then also there are the horizontal zip lines now, so you can go from building to building. But I mean, there are a lot of buildings that are very, very tall.
Oh, yeah.
So, I like the map so far, but I think there are some things that are really going to start irritating me, and it's all of the buildings. And when we first saw this, the TAC map, when they first showed it, that's like the first thing I said on the pod. Like, this map is all buildings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's never changing, unfortunately, but I don't know. I just think we need more open space and less shacks and random houses.
Yeah. So again, my position, I don't disagree with you, but I don't agree with you either. I want to play more. But you could be right. There are a lot of buildings, yeah. It's just I'm just less irritated with them because they're not as toxic as the Verdansk buildings were. But that could change for sure. So yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Dropshot LLC, which is us. Guys, if you've been thinking about joining the Patreon, it's an excellent time. Warzone just launched the seamless integration. It was seamless. The game is perfect. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to patreon.com/thedropshot. You can either join at the gold tier, which is just $5 a month. Early access, ad-free public episodes. 3 COD-related bonus episodes every month, as well as every bonus episode we've ever recorded. the whole back catalog, and access to the Patron Alley in Discord. First bonus episode this month is planned to be a Warzone brainstorm, and boy, we are going to be hard focused on Warzone for a while here. Multiplayer episodes will come, but we will be hard focused on Warzone. That's what most of you enjoy. That is what we enjoy. Gonna be bangers. $10 a month will get you the platinum tier. Everything you get from the gold tier alongside one Q&A episode where you guys can ask questions or just hear the answers. Damascus, the Chad tier, $20 a month, gets all of that, plus a behind-the-scenes episode, a monthly Damascus-only hangout, and access to the best channel in Discord, the Damascus Lounge. If you hate hearing this ad, if you hate hearing our voices, sign up for Patreon. Now back to the show.
All right, let's move on from the map. Next section, perks and the new default perks. So we got new perks added to the game, most of which are not worth using, some of which have surprised us. We'll get into that. But we'll start with the default perks. Climbing boots was one default perk that everyone has by default. So by default, you get climbing boots, tack pads, commando gloves, and what was the other one, Tanner? You remember? He's gone. Okay. I don't know, some other one, whatever. I don't remember the other one, and I was trying to remember earlier, so it obviously isn't that important. But climbing boots was one that I was worried about. And I claimed it would be nerfed because they're so good, and you mantle things so quickly, it's like impossible to track. Climb things so quickly, rather, that it's impossible to track people who are climbing. And everyone having that could be a really big problem. Surprisingly, they have not been nearly as big of an issue in that regard as I expected them to be. Now, let me be clear. There have been a couple of instances where I'm shooting someone and they climb something, and exactly what I said last week or whatever was the case, where it's like, wow, he got on top of that really fast and the animation looked weird. Overkill, that's what it does. And I, not like I couldn't track them, but like you would miss a bullet or two or something. It's like weird looking, whatever. Overall though, not nearly as impactful as I thought they were going to be for that reason, which is good. I'm kind of surprised by that. And now I don't think they're going to get nerfed. It's not nearly as big of a problem as I thought. And I guess the reason for that is that if you're running away, you really don't want to be climbing vertically, because even though you do it fast, you'd still rather just break line of sight. So yeah, maybe I overstated the danger there of giving everyone climbing boots.
Yeah, I mean, they do teleport at times.
They do teleport at times. Yes, they do. And it's weird and it's jarring and I don't like it. But it's just happened to me way less often than I expected it to. So,
yeah, it was just that one time late game when we were playing like the day Warzone launched, and I'm like, oh, there it is. See that guy teleport. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's like it didn't even register that he moved. In my head, thinking about it now, I remember seeing him on the lower ledge and then blinking or something. I don't even know. And then he was on the higher ledge. Like, I swear I did not see him ever move. It just looked like he teleported. But yeah. But yeah, it hasn't been a real. I mean, it's great to have for myself. I guess the only downside is sometimes you mantle over it so fast you almost fall off of rooftops all the time because you immediately just start going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You gotta be careful. Yeah.
But overall, I'm fine with it. If it never changed, I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Next is tack pads. These are cool, but again, I think I overstated their impact as well, frankly. And if I had thought about it more, I think this actually would be quite obvious. Being able to ADS while sliding, like, that's cool in multiplayer, but like that's barely relevant in Warzone. If you're sniping, first of all, it's almost never relevant. If you are not sniping, it's still usually not very relevant, because now we are in a meta where you can actually shoot at people pretty far away because guns in general will get into it. have less recoil than they did in Warzone 2. So you don't have to close quite as much distance, meaning I'm not going to be as close to people most of the time, meaning there's no reason for me to try an ADS while sliding if someone's 40 meters away, you know? So the ability to do that is cool. I like it. I don't want it to go away. It just has not been at all impactful for me. But that's not a bad thing. I'd still rather have them than not, but I just don't think they really matter. I'm not sure I would notice if I didn't have tack pads, aside from the slide velocity boost, which I do want everyone to have, and I think that is important, and I would notice if that was gone. But the ADS while sliding functionality it gives you, I'm not sure I would even notice if they took that away from me for a session and didn't tell me, like actually. But I've also been sniping like half my games, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on tack pads?
Much more valuable in multiplayer. Basically, that's about it. I thought I would use it more too, and you just don't in Warzone. I don't know. I don't ever think about it mid gunfight now. Yeah, just because we're not used to it, but very valuable in multiplayer where you know and expect people to be coming from a certain area. You know somebody's on the hard point, so I'm going to immediately slide in there. This game's not like that, because it's a big map. So
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Next one was Overkill. This is obviously fantastic. It was such a simple idea that I'm surprised, number one, it didn't occur to me to just give everyone Overkill by default ever. And it didn't occur to the devs, I guess, either. But if you think about the implications of it, it's great. Fewer otters, because you, if you don't have to run a pistol, because you're guaranteed another SMG or primary if you want. Fewer people are going to run that. But also, it's more perk variety, at least potentially. And there are really no downsides to it. I don't have too much to say other than now I have an extra perk. Because if I didn't, I would be taking Overkill.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everyone did take Overkill.
Exactly.
Even in Warzone 2, where you could buy guns, everyone just took Overkill, so they didn't have to worry about it. So I'm glad they did this. Yeah, very glad.
Yeah, just an easy, no-brainer, all upside solution.
I'm not sure we ever thought of this or said that. I don't know if I did either.
I don't think we did, which is crazy because it is like so obvious. Like, oh, just let everyone use 2 guns. Like, duh.
Yeah.
But it just never occurred to anyone, I guess, except Ted Timmons. Wed Women's, I should say. So anyway, and then the last and most important default perk everyone has now is, and I was going to say in my opinion, but it's not, this is just a fact, Commando Gloves. Commando Gloves are, of everything we will talk about today, these are the most impactful change that's ever been made in Warzone. From launch. From Verdansk. I'm not kidding. Nothing has changed the game more than Commando Gloves. It cannot be overstated how impactful giving everyone Commando Gloves has been for Warzone. It makes everything better. It is the biggest, not only quality of life change that we've ever seen in Warzone, but it is also the biggest change, period, quality of life or not, we've ever seen in Warzone. And I will not hear otherwise. It makes moving around the map, period, better because you can reload while sprinting, sliding, or diving. So it's just faster, just moving around. It makes chasing people way more fluid, engaging, and fun. It makes disengaging also way more fluid, engaging, and fun. And it just feels correct. And it's the thing I've always been missing. It's like you don't know what you felt like for dinner, and then someone surprised you and you were like, that's exactly what I felt like. This is Commando Gloves. I didn't know I needed it. I didn't know this is what I wanted. But once I got it, something that was missing, a part of me where there was a hole, an empty void, has been filled with the loving, warm embrace of the Commando Gloves. gosh darn it, is it fun to just have the functionality to be able to reload while moving my character in whatever way I want. I can sprint, I can slide, I can dive, and I'm reloading at the same time. Again, it makes chasing people better. It makes running away from people better. It makes just moving around the map better. This is the best change that Warzone's ever made, period. It's the most important thing that's ever happened to Warzone is Commando Gloves. It is so impactful that I don't think people even notice how much more quickly they're moving around the map by being able to sprint or slide or dive while reloading is. You don't think about how often you reload. But if you do, you would realize, wow, I am saving a lot of time by being able to sprint while reloading.
Yep.
It's just so big, dude. I love it so much.
And it's so dumb we never had it till now. No, this is probably the biggest change we've ever had. So when I first played Battlefield 2042 during the Al Mazrah era, whenever that was, there were 3 things I noticed. One of them was the fast movement speed and the unlimited tac sprint. The other was the lack of any visual recoil on guns. The guns have recoil, but no screen shake at all, but the same amount of recoil as COD guns. And running while reloading. And that made me think differently about things. And since then, that's when I started saying, I don't get why Warzone doesn't have either 5 to 10 to whatever times the amount of tac sprint or just unlimited. I don't understand it. I will continue to say this until it gets changed. There is zero reason I should have the same amount of tactical sprint on shipment as I do on Urzikstan. It does not make sense. It's a big map Warzone. Give us unlimited tactical sprint. Buff double time by 3 times the amount and give us that by default, right? Make that the base perk. Something like that, make double time work way better. I don't know. They need to do something though. That's one of them. But the running while reloading, it feels so good in Battlefield. Even I played Battlefield last 2 nights for a little bit. Still, the movement in Battlefield and everything about it feels better than this version of Warzone does right now still. Because it's so fluid. The movement is so fluid in that game. Jumping, sliding, crouching up and down quickly. It all feels so much better than even this iteration of Warzone feels. But Commando Gloves, they're a great start. We need a lot more still, but Commando Gloves are huge. I agree with you. Probably the best small quality of life perk change we've ever had in the game. It's massive, especially for sniping. Like, so we'll be like running out in the open. I'll get sniped at. So I'll slide, I'll ADS, I'll shoot, and I'll down the guy for a shot because I don't miss. Start sprinting again, reload while sprinting.
It's
out
so
in the
great,
open running.
it?
Especially with the cat, the reload is so slow. It's huge.
Yes.
It's huge, and I love it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's another, that's worth mentioning as well. No matter what gun you're using, no matter what your play style is, Commando Gloves are good. Like, when you're sniping, it's really nice, especially if you have slow reload, like you said. Because like before, I would be like, okay, well, I guess I just won't be able to shoot back until I get behind cover. Because if I try to reload without Commando Gloves here, I'm just going to die. I'm in the open. I can't do it. And that like slows down the game so much. Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, I'll just reload while I'm like diving and sliding and Borpa spinning and sprinting all around. Just fantastic. I love it, dude. I love it. It's so big. So yeah, Commando Gloves has been fantastic. The other default perk, by the way, was Quick Grip Gloves, the increased weapon swap speed. Yeah, this is good too. Yeah, I don't have much to say on that topic either.
Really good for sniping too. If we didn't have those and we were trying to snipe, we would be furious.
Yeah, or we'd just be forced to take that perk, which would be annoying again. So like having more perk variety by just giving that to everyone is good. Yeah. So now moving on to some of the new perks. I really don't have much to say about any of the new perks with 2 exceptions. Now, as people start experimenting more with with some of the other new perks that I'm not going to talk about here, maybe we will learn that they are better than I thought or better than they look like on paper or something. But for now, I think there are really only 2 of the new perks that are worth mentioning. Number 1 is Resolute. This is one of the perks that Tanner and I thought could be really good. And it reads as follows. Let me find it. Okay. When taking damage from gunfire, grants a short bonus to movement speed. When shooting at an enemy with Resolute equipped, players will see an icon to indicate that that player has Resolute. So yeah, if you take gunfire damage, you get a short bonus to movement speed. By the way, the most important point, what slot does this go in? This goes in slot 4. So this is the same slot as High Alert. It's the same slot as Ghost. So there's some competition here. And a lot of people have been running Resolute. I did try it. Let me be clear. I don't know if it even works. Yeah, as Tanner has said. I was running High Alert to begin with. And then I was like, I'm going to play a couple games with Resolute instead. And then I forgot that I had Resolute on. But I noticed that I didn't have High Alert anymore. And High Alert seems infinitely better.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever speed bonus you get, I don't notice it. When I'm shooting at other people with Resolute, if they're getting a speed boost, again, I don't notice it.
Not once.
And I miss no more shots than if they didn't have Resolute, I would miss 0 extra shots because they do have Resolute. It doesn't make me miss any more shots. And are they getting behind cover more quickly, where in such a way that they survive because Resolute got them behind cover faster, so I wasn't able to shoot as many shots at them? I don't think that's ever happened. I'm not sure it's happened to anyone in the millions of players who have played this game. The speed boost is beyond negligible and not good and super not worth giving up High Alert for. It would be insane to do. And I can't believe streamers still are doing this. But it's not good, and Resolute, I think, should be moved to a different category, or like category 1/2, or buffed a lot. Because it's super not worth running right now. And again, I'm literally not sure it even works. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've never used it myself because I never saw it. I don't know even why on paper I would ever take it over High Alert, honestly. And the other thing is, the most important thing is, we've been sniping, so it's not going to be valuable to me most of the time. So maybe in like Resurgence this makes sense, but you're absolutely right. When I'm shooting at people, the only reason I know they have Resolute is because you get an icon on your screen. Not once have I ever thought, oh my gosh, this guy's moving really fast all of a sudden. Not once.
Yeah.
It's nothing even close to like the Caldera stim boost, where that's definitely noticeable. You immediately could tell when somebody would pop a stim and get a boost. In this game too, you get the speed boost. That's probably more noticeable. I don't know. I'd be interested to see testing on this, but it does not seem like a perk worth running whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I would say I'd try it myself, but I'm probably not going to until they remove snipers from the game in a week. But maybe in Resurgence I'll do it or something. Yeah. But I mean, High Alert's so important, especially on big map. I'm not sure why you would ever take this.
Yeah, I totally, having tried Resolute, I totally agree.
Like, even I wouldn't even take it in the bonus category over Tempered, Quick Fix. I'm not even taking it over that.
Yeah, for sure not.
Wait, what is Quick Fix in? It's in Tempered, yeah. It's in bonus, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, like, because it doesn't even Serpentine also. Was it Serpentine that reduced the amount of damage taken? It was.
Yes.
And it wasn't by a lot on most guns, because it was usually like kind of shots to kill. So it was good against certain weapons. Only. Yeah, so it wasn't even that valuable then. Again, everyone back then was like, oh my gosh, it's so like busted, it's so overpowered. It really wasn't that good. It wasn't changing your time to kill that much. This is another one of those things. All you get is the movement speed boost. That's it. I don't know. Doesn't seem worth running whatsoever. I don't understand why a bunch of the sweats are running it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But again, I don't think they usually actually put a lot of thought in anything. They're so good, it doesn't matter what they run. In that wager yesterday, actually, they didn't have perks. I was watching Adrian and Aiden. They never hit their loadout. Like, Aiden even said, like, oh, I don't know if I should like go back and hit my loadout for perks. And Adrian's like, it doesn't matter. They had no perks. Yeah. They don't need them. They're still wiping the lobby. So don't watch those people and use their advice, because they are so much better than everyone else. It doesn't matter what they do. Like, it's insane watching them. I didn't watch really a Warzone stream yet on this game. God, they are so much better than everybody. It's outrageous.
especially if you're watching them like play quads, which is like what Symphony does. It's like Symphony's way better than everyone in the lobby. And so are all three of his teammates. Like it super doesn't matter what they use.
No.
Yeah. It's like 4 people on the same team that are all the best in the lobby by like a 2 KD. Like it doesn't matter what they do, what perks they have. You could design the worst loadout you can think of for them. They're still going to win most of the time. They're just that much better. So yeah, that's something worth saying. Some people in chat are saying it's absolute. So Absolute is in chat saying close quarters fights, it makes it very noticeable. Otherwise it's meh. Now this is coming from Notorious Absolute, who has only given me fake news. So I just don't believe you. I don't believe it. There's no shot. I would have noticed a speed boost. If I can't notice it when I'm getting shot from far away, why would I notice it up close when it's even easier to hit me with bullets? It doesn't make sense. So I don't believe you. Resolute's not good. Sorry.
Imagine it only works like Serpentine when it's flash damage. Imagine it doesn't even work against plates.
Yeah, that would be insane.
It should, because it just says when taking damage from gunfire, so it should work that way. But yeah, not once when I've shot someone and I've seen the icon, never noticed them moving faster on my screen. Never. So it's negligible, and don't run it. Or run it. Fine, run it. Then you won't know I'm looking at you.
If you're not on my team, you should
run it.
Yes, so I can
run
farm
Resolute,
you.
everybody. It's really good.
So you won't know I'm just lining up your head because you don't have high alert with my Cat AMR sniper rifle. We'll get into it. So that's an example of a new perk that we thought could be really busted OP and turns out to not be very good. The next example, the last new perk I want to talk about, is a perk we thought was laughably bad, and we might have been wrong about this. So Tanner and I were playing duos, and we were both sniping, and we were downtown. We were on Trump Tower, the tallest building in the. And by the way, funny enough about Trump Tower in this game, it's under construction. And that's what like Trump Industries did, right? They did like construction. So like it's a very salient name for a building. Anyway, we're on Trump Tower and we're playing duos. So everyone's sniping. So we are better than everyone else in the game, period. Not just that match, but especially that match, obviously. So we down some kid in the street pretty early on, and immediately the guy has smoke. And then one of us is like, dude, he's running shrouded. And we both start laughing, right? So then he gets rezzed because we can't see him through the smoke, especially when you're sniping far away. You can't just like spray and get the finish because he smoked. And I'm sniping. I don't have that many bullets. I don't have that RPM. Although the Cat does have a higher RPM than a Sidewinder, which isn't a good gun. So he gets rezzed, and then we like down him again later, like 30 seconds later. And then another smoke comes out because he has the shrouded perk, which is in perk category 4, by the way. So you're giving up high alert or ghost to take this. It's an ultimate perk. We thought this was laughably bad, right? So we down the guy again. He drops another smoke. We don't kill him. I think eventually we kill him by downing his teammate or fulling his teammate and then fulling him so that he doesn't get into a down state at all. It's an immediate team wipe because he can't be rezzed. And that's like the only reason we kill him. I think. I don't remember exactly. But then the match continues and there are some other guys on an adjacent rooftop now. We down one of them and a freaking smoke grenade. We're like, dude, is Shrouded the meta?
The whole lobby was running.
We're both just laughing. We're laughing at how absurd this is, but we can't finish the guy.
It was working so well.
It was working super well. Like actually just hard countered what we were doing.
Yeah.
We did though, again, eventually kill that team as well. So the two teams that were running Shrouded that game that I can recall right now anyway, Shrouded absolutely kept them alive way longer than any other perk would have, but they also still ultimately died. So one thing we were kind of questioning after the match was over was we were like, dude, were we just like super wrong about Shrouded?
Right.
Like, is this actually a really good perk? Does it deserve to be in perk slot 4? Is it worth running?
If everyone is
know.
sniping, I don't know. This it's going to become
The
really
smoke
good.
comes out immediately as soon as you get downed.
Yeah.
There is no delay. Like, you can't see them as soon as they're downed.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. It's good against us. It worked really well. It was so
it's so
funny.
goofy, but yeah,
Because
countered.
it's just funny that somebody chose to take that. Because like the only person taking that knows they're gonna get downed a lot, so they know they're not a good player, right? They're like, oh, I'm gonna be downed all the time, so I want this smoke grenade to immediately be popped on my body. That's the best part about it, is you know they're just not good at all, and they have no faith in themselves. Yeah,
right.
You're investing in you constantly getting downed, and that makes me laugh more than anything. But
yeah.
Yeah.
It seems so silly.
The only time I can see this becoming good is if everyone starts sniping.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If you're on a rooftop where people can't push you to get a full and you're on a team, it actually is really good. Like if you're playing quads and you're all sniping on like a rooftop and you're sniping against another team sniping, like you get downed and then you just immediately have smoke. It's just an easy res. But like if you're playing solos, obviously this doesn't make sense unless you just always have self-reses. And if you're not sniping, it seems kind of goofy too. Like if you're playing super aggressive, it's like, okay, you popped a smoke grenade when you got downed, but you just got down to a guy 8 meters away from you. He's going to find you. Like, so yeah, it really just seems like a sniper only perk. However, if I am sniping, is it better than high alert? That's a question we will visit in our next brainstorm next week, patreon.com/thedropshot in our bonus episode. But I think it's actually a fair question. I will say whether or not it's ultimately the best perk in that slot for any play style, I did underestimate how effective it is. It was pretty funny, dude. We got like 4 or 5 downs on these 2 players before we actually were able to finish them, and we easily would have finished them if they didn't have this. So
Yeah.
it's kudos or touche rather. That's better than we thought. So anyway, I just thought that was really funny. God, I was laughing so hard. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next category here. Weapons. So guns in general with the weapons. Now obviously there are like metas developing. And I think we talked about this last episode. The metas seem to be basically, at least so far, what I was saying in our last episode, which is to say WSP Swarm and the Striker seem to be like the meta SMGs, the meta secondaries right now. Some people are saying shotguns are good. I don't know. I've never seen one yet.
But I've seen some posts from it. Yeah, I don't believe them.
I've seen tweets, yeah, and I've seen like clips, but I haven't seen anyone in game using a shotgun yet. I haven't tried one myself, but I might look into that. I will look into that. So yeah, like WSP Swarm and the Striker seem to be the meta SMGs. For primaries, the Cat AMR, if you're sniping, that's what everyone's using if they're sniping. And then the Boss B, the DG56 marksman rifle, which is semi-auto. The D letter hyphen number AR burst AR.
The burst AR.
That's another one. And then that's pretty much it. Those seem to be the S tier meta weapons right now in Warzone that everyone's using. And in general, having used more than just those weapons as well. So I've used like, the Ram 7 I tried, the Holger LMG I tried, the other D letter LMG I tried as well. By and large, guns have less recoil than they do in Warzone 2. They have less visual recoil. The optic is better, the Choreo Eagle's Eye. And I think they, in general, have less actual recoil as well than Warzone 2 guns did. I would say it's about the same as Warzone 1, in fact. So, for example, the Boss B kills really fast, but it has a fair amount of recoil, especially sustained recoil, where if you're trying to shoot people really far away, you will miss shots if you just hold down your trigger. You can't like stay on them for your whole mag at like 100 meters. You're just not going to. Whereas if you were using like an MCW, you would like literally not miss a bullet. This is good because the boss B has that really high or really fast rather theoretical time to kill, but the practical time to kill is going to depend on number one, how far away you are, and number two, how good you are at controlling recoil. This is exactly what I have been asking for a long time, is that I want a gun with some character where huge payoff if you go through the labor of mounting often, or you're very good at controlling the recoil, or you learn it, whatever, to the extent that you can in this game. Or you just don't use that. If it's too much for you, it's like, okay, I'm just going to use the Holger LMG, which is something I've been using a lot. Not a great time to kill. It's not bad, but it's not great. But also, it's very easy to control. And I'm landing way more shots at 100 meters with it than a Boss B. And therefore, my time to kill with a Holger at 100 meters is actually faster than the Boss B. Not because it's faster on paper, it's way slower, but because I'm not missing bullets like I am with a Boss B.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I want, which is good. And I hope that trend continues. I will also add another PSA. The Ram 7, super not worth using for probably any reason. It has more recoil than a Boss B and a slower time to kill. Don't use it.
Yeah.
F's in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, Boss B will for sure be getting nerfed. Everyone's already complaining about that.
Yeah,
one.
for sure. It is overpowered. Yeah.
The thing is, too, especially for like Vondel, the recoil doesn't matter on a smaller map. Like, you just put a red dot on it, it's totally controllable. It's just
Which
like
is what we did, yeah.
It's just like if you're using it with a choreo at your 100, 150 meters, you're going to miss a lot of shots there. But anything like within 50 to 75, it's going to be really, really, really good. So that one's not going to last, yeah. The one right now that's been kind of going around since last night is the MTZ Interceptor Marksman Rifle. If you hit one headshot and one chest shot, it's a 2-tap, apparently. So that's the one now. I saw so many builds this morning, so many clips of people running it, because it's got a pretty good fire rate, and they're running with the choreo, and it can apparently 2-tap. That may be a lie. I'm not sure I believe that it would 2-tap. I feel like it could with 2 headshots. I don't know about a head and a chest, but people who make gun loadouts and tweet them lie about 90% of the time. So
yes, they do tell lies, yeah.
But I've seen a lot of clips, and you can tell it's very, very good. But not good for most people, because most people are going to end up missing a bunch of shots with that. So, yeah, Striker's my favorite SMG right now. I do not like the Swarm, and I never will. And I'm already starting to see people get off it now. Again, same thing with the MTZ. Last night, more people started posting Striker builds, and they're like, nah, this is the best SMG. And I saw like some interesting Striker builds with like the long barrel, but then they would put no stock for better mobility. Because again, it has more than double the damage range as the WSP Swarm. That gun's bait, and I've been saying that since everyone has said it's the meta. It's got an insane amount of visual recoil if you use the irons. Especially if you're on KBAM, you actually like have to use a red dot if you're shooting at somebody past 10, 12 meters. And at 10, 12 meters, you're losing a gunfight to like a Striker, so many other SMGs at that range. And that's the theoretical time to go. So with the more recoil too, you're definitely losing all those gunfights. So it's really good if you're just always inside of somebody and super aggressive. But that gun, I've been saying, is capped since the beginning, and I think people are starting to get off of that one too. But yeah, BASB feels pretty good. I honestly haven't experimented with a lot of the guns because I haven't wanted to, and I'm not going to. Let's be clear, I'm not going to experiment with any of them as long as there's a one-shot sniper. I won't be using any of them, and I do not care. So the Striker's actually been my sniper support gun, but we'll talk a lot more about this in the brainstorm next week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And another downside of the Swarm is the fire rate is so fast. You have to reload after like 1 or 2 max.
It's kills. Unusable in quads. It's not possible to get 4 kills with a 50 round mag. It's not. With a Striker 48 round mag, you can down an entire team and still have 8 to 10 bullets left. I'm dead serious. It's so much better overall.
Yeah, I agree. It's way more well-rounded and super easy to control. Good irons, although I did get wrecked by them once. Anyways,
don't say that. The irons aren't good, but they're usable. I've also swapped to an optic because I didn't need another attachment. It felt good, and since I'm using it more as sniper support, it's easier to track and see people further away. Because I'll crack somebody, bust out my striker, and get the last point of damage on them from 50 meters away, and it's a lot easier having a red dot. But that's been my go-to for sure.
Yeah, that's the biggest point too with the striker is, like you just said, you can absolutely afford the attachment slot for it. Because like if you drop the optic, you don't need a recoil control attachment, so you'd probably get like an ADS attachment or a sprint-to-fire attachment. But those are only going to give you like 30 max milliseconds. Not even that, probably more like 10 to 15, and it's like I don't care that much. I'd rather have a nice optic and never lose people with irons. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk more about that in the brainstorm. Sniping is the other big concern with weapons. So yeah, one gun in the game can one-shot headshot a fully plated opponent and down them at any range, and it is the Cat AMR, which is like the ZRG from Cold War, except its default mag is 5 rather than 3. So it's a little better than the ZRG was. But besides that, it feels exactly the same as the ZRG. It looks the same, just as slow, bulky, whatever. And it's super good. It's the only sniper that can do this, so it's the only one I've used. And this is intentional. They wrote it in the patch notes. And you don't have to run some goofy ammo type to do it. With any ammo type, it will one-shot headshot at any range. So if you build it to have high bullet velocity, you can get a maximum of 1296 meters per second, according to the video game's Gunsmith detailed stats. You put on the Zang barrel, the Nightfall suppressor, and the Spire point ammo type rounds. That's how you get max velocity. Now, is this overpowered? Is it too good? Should one-shot sniping at any range go away? Or should it at any range go away? I think the upside, obviously, of one-shot sniping is you can down people that are full health at any distance if you hit the shot. That's very powerful, obviously. And that's the reason that people originally complained about it back in Verdansk. The downsides, however, are more numerous than they have ever been. I'll give you a couple. Insane bullet flinch. I'll give you all of them that I can think of. If you're being shot, you are not hitting a headshot with the Cat AMR.
No.
Unless you get insanely lucky. But you can't be skillful enough to hit a headshot through flinch. It's not possible. No matter what attachments, no matter what perks, you're still going to flinch way too much to be hitting headshots. So there's one downside. It ADSs very slowly. It reloads very slowly. You have the most massive, obvious scope glint that has ever been in Warzone if you're using it. And you also have a very obvious bullet trail that if people are paying attention, they can very quickly figure out exactly where you are just by looking at it, even if they didn't see your scope glint.
Yeah.
And people are now moving more quickly and changing their hitbox more dynamically than was ever before possible in Warzone. So it's never been harder to click on someone's head than it is right now, with diving, sliding with tack pads, gradient sliding if someone's sliding down a hill, reload while sprinting, and all the movement bonuses that I may have missed. So it's never been harder to click on someone's head either. So in my view, sniping is perfectly balanced right now. Using a Cat is balanced. It's not underpowered. It's definitely worth doing. If you're good at sniping, you will do well using a Cat because you can one-shot headshot people. But Also, all of the downsides make it a balanced gun, and it is not overpowered like the Kar 98 in early Verdansk was, where it was no idle. Oh, by the way, another downside of sniping. The cat has insane idle sway. You can build it to help, which does help, but you can't just not have idle sway like you could on Caldera or like you could in Verdansk. So it's not nearly as overpowered as it once was. The downsides are, again, more numerous than they've ever been. But the upside is you can still one-shot down people. This means, in my view, sniping is perfectly balanced. It's exactly where it should be. And the only thing I think they need to change is add one-shot functionality to other snipers, but not necessarily at all ranges. For example, have the KV inhibitor be a one-shot headshot down on a fully armored opponent, full health opponent, up to 40 meters. Have the cat stay any range. Have the stalker be 50 meters. We can quibble about the numbers, but this is how they did it in Caldera. This is the only thing that needs to change, in my view, with respect to sniping. And then sniping will be perfectly balanced, because still, all of those snipers are still going to have to deal with flinch. They're still going to have to deal with the obvious scope glint. They're still going to have to deal potentially with the bullet trail. And they're also going to have to deal with how much more quickly people are moving, making it harder to click on people's heads than it's ever been. With all of that said, clip me now, link me later. One-shot sniping will be nerfed massively. They're either going to tie it to the dog poop explosive ammo, where now my bullet velocity is 10 and it goes straight to the ground, or they're going to just not let it one-shot people's heads at all. It'll do 299 damage or something, because too many people complain about it because they're mad that they got third-partied. And unfortunately, because most of the people with clout that have the devs' ears are the best players in Warzone, and they have the most viewers because they're the best players in Warzone. And what is conducive to you being the best player in Warzone and therefore having the most clout and therefore having the devs' ears? Playing on a controller. And what do people playing on a controller not have an advantage with? Sniping. It's, in fact, the only thing where you'd rather be on KBAM than controller is if you're sniping. So of all the people who have the dev's ear and can influence patches play on controller, which makes them less likely to snipe, then of course, the people not sniping but being sniped are going to complain about sniping to the devs, and then it's probably going to get nerfed. I'm not 100% sure. I hope to God it doesn't happen, but I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, because I'm already seeing people bitch about it. And it's super balanced right now. So if they're complaining now when it's never been harder to hit people in the head, then I don't think anything will satisfy them except making it virtually impossible by ruining the velocity with the ammo type thing, or just making it not possible at all. And before you say, oh, it's okay, Raz, you'll still be able to do it in pubs, but they'll just disable it for ranked. That doesn't help me, because if once ranked comes out, I'm either playing ranked or I'm playing Resurgence. I'm not going to play Big Map BR unranked if ranked is available. So that doesn't help me. Don't say that as consolation. It doesn't matter. It needs to work at ranked also, or I won't care. That's my opinion on sniping. Do you think it's overpowered? Do you think it's underpowered? Do you think it'll be nerfed?
I think if they nerf it, I think they'll just nerf like the individual gun or some attachments basically to make it so like the max amount of velocity you can get would be like 850 to 900 or something. And that's like with using the suppressor you use that also kills your ADS speed even more. I can see them doing something like that. Maybe even adding more flinch, but still keeping them one shot. But I think we will first, before, if they ever nerf it, I think we'll end up seeing other snipers have the ability to one-shot. Yeah, I think in Season 1 Reloaded or Season 2, where they said they'll be doing a lot of weapon balancing changes, I think we'll begin to see some other snipers be able to one-shot. Because, like, some of the heavy MW2 snipers should one-shot.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, they have to balance it with the cat, though, too, because something like the intervention probably has better mobility and better everything. So if that can one-shot, then it's like, okay, well, the cat's just awful. The other thing, too, with MW2 snipers, they don't have smoke trails. MW2 guns don't have smoke trails like MW3 guns do. So if they give those the ability to one-shot, they have to either add a smoke trail or just remove it from the cat or do something, because then, again, there'd be no reason to use the one that leaves a smoke trail that's a foot wide through the air, right, for 400 meters. There's no reason to use that one if you can use one that doesn't. That's still one-shots.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I honestly think even like the longbow should have a one-shot potential, 25, 30 meters, something for very fast players. Agree. That one should not even be 50, I don't think, because having that with the ability to one-shot to like 50 meters will just ruin Resurgence, even at that distance, just completely ruin it.
Yeah, I agree.
From my opinion,
would be too much.
Everyone would be using it. But yeah, I mean, they're perfectly balanced right now. I've been having so much fun sniping. I don't want to use another gun. I'm not going to use another gun because it's just fun. It's so rewarding. And you're right. I'm very surprised the amount of people we're hitting 250, 300 meter shots on, and when they're moving, when it's so easy to just not be hit. And you come across that a lot. You start shooting at someone, they start sliding around, jumping. We can't hit them. We don't hit them at that range. Maybe you'll get a lucky shot. You get a lot of cracks. I've cracked a ton of people, but you're not getting one-shot kills on those people usually. So makes it more fun to play. Makes it more fun to watch too, in my opinion. Like when I was watching them do the kill race yesterday, when they would see Glint, he'd be like, there's a sniper left, careful. And he'd start sliding everywhere, getting behind cover. Makes it a lot more exciting when they have something to worry about too. Yeah. So, but again, they're all really good, aggressive controller players. Those are all of the people. That's the person that is in with the development studio and can actually get changes to happen. So I would not be surprised at all if one-shot snipers get heavily nerfed. Yeah. And once ranked comes out too, we'll see even more complaints about this if they're in ranked for sure. They will all be complaining about it, all of them.
Yep. For sure.
Maybe it's even something like in ranked, they would just like ban the certain ammo types. So it's like you can't use the Spire Point rounds or something that gives you more velocity. I don't know. Or add more bullet drop to the gun. I'm not sure, but there is no way 3 or 4 months from now in Warzone ranked we have one-shot snipers with 1300 velocity. There's just no chance. It won't be in the game.
Yeah. I don't think they need to nerf them. I think they're balanced as is. Like I think the cat is balanced as it is and would be fine in ranked, but I don't see them not nerfing it. Yeah,
I think it's balanced too, but they play a different game than we do. So if they're in a top 250 lobby, it's totally different. So they of course all want it gone. They think it's too good, but it's funny to see a bunch of the really good K-Bam players, how excited they are to have snipers back, and then everybody else, meaning 98% of the player base, all hate them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a top-tier pro controller player once say, oh, I love sniping this game. Not once. The only thing they've said are, oh my god, sniping sucks. And because it's a lot harder on controller than sniping on K-Bam.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it sucks,
it's like the one advantage K-Bam has.
It'll be gone, unfortunately, so I'm savoring it as long as I can. And then I'll never launch Warzone again when they don't one-shot. So.
Yeah, it's just so fun. Unlike Tanner, the reason I like sniping is because it gives me options. And like I think I mentioned, I've been splitting like 50-50 my games, sniping and not sniping. And that makes playing for like a long time like way more enjoyable to me. I get way more variety. It's like, I'm going to snipe this game. I'm not going to snipe this game. And I have the option to do both. That just wasn't an option in Warzone 2. And it made playing for like a couple hours so much more boring because it's like, okay, every single game I'm picking a full auto gun that shoots bullets, and it's going to be the same exact gun, by the way, every single match. So I'm using the same loadout every game, and it's like, okay, I would love to just mix it up and have both be viable, and that's an option right now, and it's so great. So anyway, Last section, miscellaneous. So these are other random first impressions we have that don't fit neatly into any of these categories. Why don't you start us off, Tanner?
Yeah, so starting with Resurgence. We got Resurgence yesterday? Yeah, it came out yesterday. I don't know what it is.
Technically on the launch, but for Vondel and Ashika,
that's what I'm talking about. So Vondel and Ashika, something about it, I don't know. It just feels off. I was very, very, very excited for Resurgence. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait with all this movement and everything. So I don't know what's going on. I'm just not enjoying it like I thought I would. It's not even like we're in sweaty lobbies. That's not it at all. It just, for some reason, feels less fun than Warzone 2 Vondel. That could be because I'm enjoying the big map so much. I don't know. Realistically,
you're not sniping.
The number one thing is probably how bad the audio is, because the audio is already non-existent. So when most of your gunfights are close range and you hear nothing and you always get shot at from somebody you don't hear, it makes it unplayable.
Yeah.
So then that too, it's like everyone's using the Bass B, or they were when I played it. And that kills so much faster than everything else. It feels like when you're dying in 6 or 7 shots, whatever it usually is, it feels like multiplayer time to kill. That's how it feels on your screen. Then you watch the kill cam, you're like, there's no way. It says they hit 7 shots. Okay. That was not 600, 550 milliseconds, whatever it is. It wasn't. It was 200. So that feels awful too. Again, audio issues are so noticeable on the small map. Very, very bugged. That's where we were messing around with the audio, like I was saying at the beginning. Yeah. And then also, Ashika is just so bad. Worse than I remember. It actually it's just awful.
We didn't even go
It's
castle,
so
too.
bad. I kind of hoped they would change some things. They didn't. Not a single thing changed about Ashika. I mean, it still has like the treasure chest tokens. They still have the self-revive pistols on Vondel and Ashika.
Yeah.
Even though they removed them from the game, right? So they didn't do a single thing to any of the maps.
Yeah.
Which I guess I didn't really expect, but... Well, I expected them to get changed last year, and Infinity Ward was in charge, so they didn't. So Ashika is just... awful, man. I mean, to start with, it needs to be sunny, so there needs to be visibility. It needs to have 10 to 12 more players. It needs to have more loot. Castle needs to be gone. It needs so many things. It's actually just an awful, awful map, and it's so boring to play. It is so boring, and I hate it right now more than ever. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I was very excited for Resurgence, but you're probably right. The sniping thing, I'm enjoying the big map too. When I was playing a ton of Resurgence last year, it's because I never wanted to play Moz. I never wanted to play the big map. Well, because you couldn't do anything. It was just boring.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So it made it more fun, but I don't know. It's not hitting quite yet. Once the audio gets fixed, it could be a different story, but it just ain't hitting right now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's...
Urzikstan Resurgence feels a lot better also, I'll say that. A lot better than Vondel and Ashika.
Yeah, I'd like to try that again.
Had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that was fun, but we only played it on, like, right away on launch day. I think you're right. I think you already mentioned this, but the biggest problem with Resurgence is that with the audio as bad as it is right now, that is way more of an issue on Vondel than it is on Urzikstan. Because on Urzikstan, most of your gunfights are not in a building. Whereas on Vondel, all of them are. So if the audio is bugged and you can't hear anyone else, that's going to disproportionately impact your experience on Vondel way more than Urzikstan. I think that's it. My thing with Resurgence, the thing that surprised me the most, and this is why I want one-shot snipers at for other guns besides the cat. This would help Resurgence be a lot more fun to me as well. Is like I'm not going to use a cat on Ashika or Vondel. You could probably get away with it on Vondel, to be fair. And yeah, you probably couldn't on Ashika. It probably just wouldn't be good. But on Vondel, you can get on a roof, chill, get on that parking garage maybe, snipe a lot of people. I didn't try it, but if there were other snipers that one-shotted but not at all distances, so like if the XRK Stalker, for example, the new sniper, if that one shot up to like 50 or 60 meters, maybe with attachments, that would make Resurgence feel more fun and dynamic. Being able to use that, or again, like Tanner said, like a longbow, but only like 25 meters. That would still be like fun, and I would try it. And it could be cool. So it needs that, I think. But my biggest first impression of Resurgence after the integration is I was amazed, and I played multiple games on the big map. So like the Urzikstan Resurgence rotation, whatever, and on Ashika and on Vondel. And my biggest thing is I was amazed at how similar it felt to before the integration.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure why.
It's like I didn't even notice any of the default perks. It's weird. I expected it to be very noticeable, and it just was not.
I know.
Maybe it's because it even like still has so much MW2 ground loot. I don't know, but they're actually, okay, I was wrong. They did change one thing. There's now a horizontal zip line at Stadium across to the 2 roofs. There are 2 of them. That's cool. That's the one thing they changed on the 2 maps. Nothing else was changed. But yeah, I don't know. I did not notice any of the movement mechanic changes.
Yeah.
I think it's actually just the time to kill, because the last time we played it, the average time to kill from some guy in a roof shooting at us when we're down low, it's probably 750, 800 milliseconds the last time we played. Now with the Bass B, it's back to 550 again. So you're just dying so quickly. That's probably what it is too.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. But yeah, it just, that was my biggest first impression is I was just like, wow, it feels exactly the same as it used to, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if we're setting aside the footstep audio issue, it's not necessarily bad that Vondel feels the same as it used to, because Vondel used to be fun also. But I'm not going to choose to play it right now when I can just go snipe in Urzikstan, and that has novelty, and I haven't sniped in a year and a half. So like that's cool. But yeah, I was just amazed at how like same it felt. I was like, okay, it's like I didn't notice any of the changes. They're in the game. Like, I know they are. I did reload while sprinting and stuff. It just mattered way less than I thought it would, which is just weird. I don't have an explanation for why, but it just felt so the same. But anyway, Resurgence will no doubt get a ton of updates. We're going to get like Rebirth Island back. That'll be cool. Fortune's Keep, etc. So yeah, not much else to say there. So next, miscellaneous first impression, vehicles. These are better than MW2, but certainly not great. The Bertha is super bulky and poop to handle. We talked about this in the last episode.
Not great, yeah.
Yeah, that might be fine with how much health they have, to be fair. That might be a good way to balance it. Because in Warzone 1, if you could take a Bertha or the Dune Buggy, you just always took the Bertha. There were no downsides to taking it. Whereas now, there are downsides. It handles worse and it's slower. But the upside is it has way more health and you're way more protected. So maybe that's a good thing, because the Dune Buggy in this game, the Coyote, or like the ATVs, these are really fast, just like Warzone 1. So that's good. You can drive around the map with like certain vehicles. And then the choppers are controllable, but not as good as Warzone 1. So
I think they're just the same as Warzone 2. I don't know if they changed them at all.
That's what it kind of feels like to me. Yeah.
So they did bait us with all of the images. Yeah. It's so funny how they don't even pay attention to stuff like that. They don't know anything about their own game. There's like there's so many disconnects between like who does what at the studios. It's funny. Yeah. Very, what's the word? Compartmentalized. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, on the whole, I think vehicles are worth using, but not as good as they were on Warzone 1. Although that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's okay that Berthas are harder or like slower and less maneuverable than like ATVs. That should be the case. Whether they should be better handling than they are now is also an interesting question. I'd say maybe they could afford a couple more cylinders in that engine block. Put a few more
we could maybe do with that. Yeah.
Get some more horses in there.
But overall, the vehicles, I think they're okay. They're in a good spot. A decent spot anyway. Better than MW2 / Warzone 2. Yeah.
Yeah, still not good enough to make anyone use them, though, it seems like. You don't see too many people driving. Maybe a few more. Thing is, too, there's so many vehicles, and it was like this in Warzone 2. And now with all the variations, we don't need all the variations, because if there's the armored one there, the LTV, everyone just takes that. So either just remove that one or make that the only vehicle, because that's the only one you ever see people in, right? Because if there is a truck or an armored SUV next to each other, which one am I taking? Like, I'm always taking the armored one. So like the variation between them is weird, but that's just been that way since Warzone 2. Yeah, like the Coyote and Small ones handle well, but the Bertha's still just awful. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. J-God baited us by acting like they were going to be Warzone 1 level again, so thanks,
Yeah,
J-God.
I'm curious if they do end up doing something more to vehicles. Yeah. It's possible. They already did a lot, so it's not like they were going to do everything they planned, but moving on is again, commando gloves are insanely good. We're running long here, so we're going to kind of speed up a little bit. They did add a thing where your slide distance depends on the gradient. So if you slide up a hill, you don't slide as far as if you're flat. And if you slide down a hill, you slide farther. So it's not like Apex where you can just slide indefinitely down a hill, but it's super noticeable if you slide down a hill now, which I think is really cool. There was one end game where we slid down a hill and I was like, wee, I'm going far. Huh? And that was fun and also exciting. So that was a good change. The sliding being affected by the gradient you're on. I think that was good and not like overpowered or anything, and not even really that impactful, but it does just make the game feel more fluid. And I think it was a good change.
Yeah. That is a cute little change. That is very noticeable. It kind of makes you take different paths too. Like knowing now that there's a hill here, I'm like, I'm trying to get away from these people who are chasing me. I'm going to jump down here and slide immediately so I go further and faster.
Yeah, true. Next is the looting. So there's the dedicated ammo slots now. I'm amazed to say this, but on day one, I pick up the ammo. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, Infinity Ward still hasn't figured it out in Warzone 2, but it somehow works flawlessly now, day one.
And I'm surprised at how well it works, but I just always have ammo, unless I literally haven't found any. If you run over ammo, you will pick it up automatically every time.
Yeah.
And it's glorious. The only time I'm out of ammo is because I have not run over any ammo. It's not because I did and my character didn't pick it up even though he's supposed to. Thanks, Infinity Ward. Not a development studio, by the way, and not a good company, Infinity Ward. But Raven is, so mostly. So looting is like saved. Yeah. And then even beside ammo, the loot like being spread out more, it's better than Warzone 2. Not as good as Warzone 1 late era, where we had the full circle. Looting could be improved still. There's room for improvement, but auto picking up ammo is the biggest thing, and plates, by the way. Those both work correctly, which is awesome. And usually if I want to pick up a particular thing, I can do it. I don't have to pixel hunt anymore. So those quality of life changes have been big. They work as intended. And again, this speeds up the pace of the game because now I don't have to pause at every single kill I get and stop moving for 5 seconds to simply pick up what I want.
It's so nice.
That's gone, which is really, really, really good. And it speeds up the pace of the match in addition to not being annoying. So yeah, fantastic.
I would still kind of prefer if they did like floating loot, like in
I agree.
Warzone 1 makes it even easier to see, especially when there's actually something I want to grab. You still kind of have to search through because it's like, oh, there's a Gulag entry thing here, but it's much, much better than we have. And I don't think they'll do floating loot again, because if they were to do that, I feel like they would have just done that instead of what they did now. So this is probably what we're going to have, and it's fine. It works well.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. Next is horizontal zip lines. These are cool, and I like that they're in the game, and they are useful, and they have utility. They're not like a useless feature. And Activision loves to do that, so that's good. But They are way too slow. You need to move on a horizontal zip line at least twice as quickly as you do now. It should be like difficult to shoot you off, but not impossible if someone's like shooting at you on it. Whereas right now, if someone's looking at you and you take a horizontal zip, you're super dead. You move way too slow. And also, even if no one's shooting at you, get me across faster. Like I fly up vertical zip lines, but horizontal zip lines, it's like I'm on a gondola at a ski resort. It's too slow.
Do you think maybe they're the same speed? You just don't get the feeling they're as fast? No, actually,
That's
no way.
possible.
No, there's no way, actually, now that I think about it. Because some of the zips downtown where it goes from the bottom to a roof of a building, like the crane, there's no way that's the same speed as horizontal now that I think about it. Ain't no way.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they also lied, though. They claim like it's from COD Next, they made it easier to get on and off of them. That was a total lie. You still will stand there and there's just nothing to interact with, which is how they were at COD Next. It's not all of them, though. It's like just some of them are bug in certain situations. Also, I thought they said it. Maybe they never did. I thought it was said somewhere that you can grab them in the middle of it. I haven't ever once been able to do that. Like, you can't just float and land and grab it like you can vertical ones. At least when I've tried. I don't know if
vertical
that's intentional.
Ones always work, but yeah, horizontal ones are buggy. I agree.
So I'm not sure
I've
if they're supposed to work that way, but horizontal zip lines for sure need some work. Still a great feature to come to the game, though. They're very, very nice to have.
Yeah. Iron out the bugs, make them faster, in my opinion, and they're good. But I'd rather have them in the state they are now than not at all. So yeah.
Yeah, a few more little things here. Remove MW2 ground loot from the game. I don't know why we have it. Remove every trace of that game from Earth. We don't need any ground loot guns that are from MW2 in the game. We have a bunch of new guns. Just use those instead and get them out of the game. Thank you. Next thing, why did they add a hit marker sound when I get hit? Okay. I'm aware I'm being hit. I don't need to hear my own plates cracking. Okay.
Did turning it off work?
No.
Did you try that?
No.
Okay.
I do not know. I do not need to know I'm being hit. I'm well aware I'm being shot. So it's annoying and just another layer of wasted audio taking up space in my stupid little ears instead of hearing some guy pushing me. So I'm glad that works perfect every time. Then whenever I get shot, I hear a plate cracking in my ear. I hear that perfectly. I don't hear the guy sprinting right next to me, though. So that's awesome. Remove it from the game at the very least. Make it so it's tied to the hit marker sound effect, because in Warzone 2 I actually turned hit marker sound effects off. I didn't run them. Tried that in this game, didn't make a difference, unfortunately. So I don't know why that's in the game. Get it out. Just get it out. Why do they keep wanting to add noise pollution to the game? Your game has enough audio pollution that you don't hear the things you want to hear. We don't also need this added to the game. It's stupid and a waste.
It really does. It really is unnecessary. There are plenty of visual cues to indicate that I'm being shot. I don't need audio cues as well. You're probably right about that. You're definitely right about that, actually.
So that's cool. And then a couple more things. Let me prone and revive. I don't know if this is a bug. I don't know if this is intentional. But if you're on like a roof and your teammate gets downed, you start reviving. Smile, your head's probably showing to some guy who's on a roof at equal level, so he can headshot you while getting sniped.
Shrouded OP.
So, you can throw a smoke, but smokes now don't last as long. So when you throw the smoke, you have to start reviving immediately and finish completely, or the smoke will be gone. They used to last like an extra 2 seconds after you could get the revive off. So
correct.
This is crazy. I hope it's just a bug, because sometimes you can lay down. Like sometimes, one time, I actually got the pop-up. It said, press Z to go prone. And I was like, huh? And I did it, and it worked. One time it's happened to me. So it makes me think it's just buggy. Hopefully that gets fixed ASAP. That's really, really bad, especially with one-shot snipers in the game right now. So
yeah. And when you're downed without the perk, there's a perk that makes you move faster when you're downed. Mm-hmm. Which is not worth taking, obviously. So if you don't have this perk, which you shouldn't, then when you're downed now, you've never moved more slowly. You move super slow once you get downed in this game without that perk. I think that's a good thing, actually. It should be pretty easy to thirst you if you just got downed in the middle of a field. You shouldn't be able to be bleeding out of your femoral artery and also like crawling at like 15 miles an hour behind a rock. You should move about as slowly as you do right now. I think that's actually a good change. But you have to let your teammates be able to prone and res as kind of a counterbalance to that. Because yeah, if you get down on a roof, your teammate can't res you. It's not possible. You will get sniped.
Yeah.
If I get sniped on a roof and I'm not running the shrouded perk because I'm dumb, I guess, my teammate can't res me unless he has to smoke, because his head was going to easily be ripped off if mine was. Yeah. So I think it is a bug though, because you can prone and res sometimes randomly. So that leads me, and they never said they were going to take this away. So it does lead me to believe it should be possible, and it's a bug that you can't, but let's fix it now.
Let's fix it ASAP.
Now.
Yeah. And so then just last thing overall, there are lots of random little bugs. The more I played it, the more things I've noticed. Kind of buggy. Nothing to the level of Warzone 2 launch, though, where it was unplayable for so many people for so long. So I do have crashing issues. I've crashed 3 or 4 times. Maybe I should try updating to the latest NVIDIA driver, because there is a newest one for Warzone. If I continue to crash, I'll update to that. But the actual performance, FPS performance, is great. Better than Warzone 2 everywhere. Everywhere it's better. So
and no hitching ever.
No hitching, yeah.
Which is really good. I'll get frame drops, but I won't get stutters. And that I'd way rather have frame drops than stutters. Like going from like 190 to like 130 FPS, not great, but as long as I'm not stuttering and it's constant, that's fine. Like I'll deal with it. It's not the end of the world. So not stuttering is really good. But yeah, there are a lot of little bugs. I've crashed also probably 3 or 4 times. I also need to update to the latest driver. But overall, a smoother launch than most Call of Duty games / patches. So
yeah. But yeah, there was one bug yesterday I got on a Sheikah. I loaded in and it was trios, and I had teammates going in. Then I loaded in, and I'm the only person on my team in the bottom left corner. So I'm like, huh? And then I see, so you know how you're the green icon on the map with your green and your 1, right? That's what I was that match. Okay. There were 2 of those on the map. So I was like, huh?
That's good.
I pull up the scoreboard. I have 2 teammates apparently. So one was showing up as the same green icon as me. The other was showing up as like a yellow icon. You would run up to them in game and they wouldn't have another name. They wouldn't have a friendly name tag over their head. It would just be a tiny blue dot over their head, no nameplate. So we are constantly shooting each other. It said I had $18,000 at one point, and I went to buy a loadout that was $7,500, and it said insufficient funds. Yep. It was a total disaster. I mean, weird bugs I hadn't even seen in Warzone 2 yet. So pretty weird, but very buggy. That'll all get fixed, though.
I would love to see a new bug. Yeah, whenever I see a new bug, I'm like, oh, they're actually changing the game. Because I'm so used to seeing bugs I've seen for actually 5 years that it's really nice when I'm like, oh, there's a new thing that's broken. That's actually kind of sweet, because it means they're changing new things, and maybe this one will get fixed. Unlike, Field Upgrade Pro from MW19 that was in the game until Warzone 2 came out. So that was, pretty cool. It probably still is in MW19, by the way, if you run Field Upgrade Pro, for example. But anyways, yeah. Last miscellaneous first impression, Graves needs to shut his gosh darn mouth.
He needs to stop talking.
He's got to stop talking.
Why are we doing it?
I'm so done with him giving me the mission parameters before every single match of Warzone or Resurgence. Stop it. I'm about to flip that stupid picnic table into his face. Oh, man. He's got to knock it off. Yeah, I'm so over it. The first time I saw it, I immediately was like, this is going to get old very quickly.
You said that the very first time, because it does take a long time. Like if it didn't actually extend the starting of the game, it wouldn't matter, but it does make it longer. It adds 15 to 20 seconds every single time. And especially if you're playing Resurgence of 10, 12 minute matches half the time. Oh my God, why do I have to watch this every time? That has to be removed in Season 1 Reloaded. It just simply has to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Graves needs a gag order.
Graves needs Raven to just shut the up for sure. He needs to.
Yeah.
God, it's the worst.
Yeah. So anyway, we're super done. I mean,
Are
we
you?
should have been done an hour ago, but we're super done now. Like I said, there are, I'm sure, a ton of things that went unmentioned. Your little pet peeve or pet thing you love that we didn't talk about it and you're seething. Tell us about it in the comments for engagement, but I don't actually care. I only want your analytics. So say it for that reason and only that reason, because I'm not sorry, because this is already an 8-hour episode. We were never going to talk about everything, and we haven't, but there are other things I'm sure. We will revisit Warzone impressions at a later time. We might do second impressions on Patreon. We might do it publicly in a month or something. But overall, I have arguably never had more fun on Big Map than I am now. Shout out to Commando Gloves. Really fun. I'm having a ton of fun playing Warzone. Certainly more fun than I've ever had or will have playing Warzone 2. No questions asked about that. There are some problems. I expect a lot of them to change. I expect some of them not to. But overall, I said this in Discord and I stand by it now, a couple days later. Warzone right now, in terms of enjoyment for me, is a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
it's
wow.
really, really, really fun. Could be better. There could be some improvements. And as I play longer, maybe I will find more things that annoy me or are bad. But right now, and I've played a lot of hours, it's a great experience. And my first impressions are this experience has exceeded my expectations by a lot. So I'm having a ton of fun. It's great. Shout out to Raven for listening to community feedback. And
Waven Waftware.
Waven Waftware, yeah. Led by Wimmy Women's. And we will revisit this topic more, undoubtedly. Patreon.com/the Dropshot, at the Dropshot Pod on Twitter, or join the Discord. All the links are below. You'll see our schedule. We'll post it on Monday for next week. Should be fun. We'll have bonus episodes coming out next week as well. So if you want to hear a Warzone brainstorm where we try and figure out the best perks, the best guns, what are we missing? Patreon.com/Dropshot. That episode will be available at all tiers, and you get a bunch of other benefits as well. Stay humble.
Tumble.